Hello, 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 and thank you for tuning in to the Bada Bin program, otherwise known as the Bada Bin Show. My name is Dave, and I'm here with my good buddy Chris, who is down there in the bottom square. We're on
Hey, hey.
Hollywood Square. You're like the Jim J. Bullock Square, and I'm Shadow
I am.
Stevens.
Oh, you're in the center. Okay. Is Jim J. Bullock in the center or was that Joan Rivers?
I
Or
don't know.
she was there a lot too.
She deserved it. She deserved
She
that
did?
center square.
Oh,
All
she
right.
deserves anything.
Yeah, there you
Yes.
go.
A treasure.
Hopefully, she's receiving everything she ever deserved in the afterlife.
I would assume so.
There you
That's the
go,
only
Joan.
way it would be. She
Yeah.
wouldn't take anything less.
No, no, and that was probably your only Hollywood Squares reference you'll get today, this week, or even
Mhm, mhm.
possibly this
Ever.
year. Yeah, okay, we'll go that far, possibly ever. But Chris, let's lead off by asking a simple question, a necessary
Mhm.
question. How are you?
Oh, it's been one of them weeks here. I'm sure we'll talk about it as we continue. How about you? How
Oh,
you
okay,
doing?
that was a good, just complete pivot and just take the.
Deflection.
Yeah, exactly. Just how about you? I'm okay. I'm here with you. I can't
That's
complain.
good.
You know what I mean? We're gonna be talking about comics. We got some
We
great
are.
stuff on the docket. I've been advertising all week on various socials that speculation will be the name of the game when we start
Hmm.
chewing the fat today. But as far as my personal life, let me tell you something. Have you ever, and you could relate maybe as a fellow
Hmm.
mustachioed man,
Hmm.
woken up in the morning,
Uh-huh.
you're a little groggy, you're in the bathroom, you go into the mirror and you look at your upper lip and you're like, geez, man, it looks like a caterpillar just crawled there and died. That ain't great.
Mm-hmm.
That's not presentable. I can't go outside like that. So in your
Sure.
foggy haze of new awakenness, you grab your beard trimmer and you give a little zip, zip, zip to try to get the little extra foliage,
Foliage.
yeah, out of
Yeah.
there, and you go, whoop, oh, ooh,
That's too short.
that wasn't good. And then yeah, if I had been, I was going to say sober, but if I had been freshly awake, that never would have
Hmm.
happened. I mean, not
Oh
freshly awake.
yeah,
If I had been fully awake, I was freshly
you've
awake,
been
excuse
sleep
me.
sober.
There
Yeah,
we go. You know what I mean? But instead, now I have a little defect in my
a
mustache that
little
will,
divot.
dude, it's going to
Hmm.
haunt me. I can't, I'm not even looking at myself on screen right now. I can't do it. I think we've all been there. A little
Oh, of
whoopsie
course,
in the morning.
absolutely,
You know what I
absolutely.
mean?
The
So,
little tick tick. Yeah, a little triangle taken out. Yeah.
dude, not great. And that's
No.
that's a good way for me to avoid talking about my personal life by just bringing up the most trivial thing that it
There
occurred
you go.
today. You know what
There
I
you
mean?
go.
So yeah, there's probably not going to be any full screens of my face today, just so you know, because I don't want
Okay.
people looking for it like an Easter egg.
The red circle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what did that man do to his face? But instead, again, we're here to talk comics. I want to talk specifically to you about comics. And
Hmm.
last
Hmm.
week, we had a little unboxing,
That's
I
right.
guess you could call it, when I got my fresh stack from my mail order.
Hmm.
And one of the books that arrived was a little ditty, which I was very weary of, if you recall, because it's an event known as
Abpow.
AbPow, Absolute Power. But I thought
Hmm.
to myself, I'm the fool who went all in on this. I might as well check it out. Heck, I paid for it,
Sure.
right?
Why
And
not?
and so I started with Absolute Power Ground Zero, which is like the prequel.
Hmm.
Trash. Dude, it was like I was I couldn't believe it. I'm like, I did it to myself again. I went in on an event. I know better than to do this. Dave, you're a grown man. What kind of fool are you to buy this rubbish? This isn't fit to like line a bird cage.
And that was like anthological, right? It was an anthology, multiple
Yes,
stories in one book.
there's a few
The
different
DC
stories.
method, which usually sucks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude, it was so bad. I'm like, what? Oh my god, what have
yeah,
I done? But then I still got Absolute Power #1 to go through, and I'm like,
sure.
well, you know, I might as well try it because it's got Dan Mora on art. So at least if the story is god awful,
Hmm.
I have
It'll be
that.
nice to look at.
Thank you.
There you
Exactly.
go.
And let me tell you something. I opened this little bad boy up. I started reading, and I loved it. I thought it was
Hmm.
fantastic. I mean, I really just thoroughly enjoyed it. And speaking of Dan Mora, I think I had texted you and said this issue was like he was drawing as if he'd never draw again.
Hmm.
He put everything into this issue. It is stunning, beautiful, gorgeous. Give me more adjectives. It is fan effing tastic
Okay.
artistically. But Mark Waid wrote it, and I got to be honest, I thought the story was a fantastic setup. And I
Hmm.
started to wonder, why did you do Ground Zero to me? You know what I mean? Like, now it's an actual thing. Like, you Ground Zeroed me. Why did you do that?
Hmm.
It hurts
Where
my
on your
feelings.
mustache did Ground Zero touch you?
Exactly, right? It was that bad, followed up by something this fantastic. But as I
Hmm.
sat there thinking about it, thinking about the story and just everything about Absolute Power, it dawned on me, one of the main reasons I liked it so much was it reminded me of something of my youth. Nostalgia,
Hmm.
right? You can never go
Sure.
wrong. And the more and more my mind was processing, I'm like, yes, 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 yes. Dude, this is like a modern retelling of Legends.
Hmm.
It really feels that way. And I don't want to spoil it for anybody. Um, but I think one of the main premises in this story is how society at large can be manipulated.
Hmm.
And in Legends, which is okay to spoil, I guess because it's so darn old, like me,
Sure. Almost 40. Yeah.
yeah, G. Gordon Godfrey, which was,
Hmm. Glorious Godfrey.
there
Yeah.
we go, he was actually Desaad in disguise for
Hmm.
Darkseid, was on Earth doing various talk shows, being a pundit to manipulate human emotions and feelings towards the superhero set. They do that again here, but in a different fashion that feels much more mature, much more up to date, and very adult. So,
Hmm.
dude, please keep this coming. And unfortunately, with the fact it's an event, I'm just waiting to be let down. I'm waiting to be ground zeroed again. You
It's
know,
possible.
dude, I get the tie-ins, so I know those are just gonna
Me
be.
too.
You did too.
Garbage.
I
Yeah.
know, dude. It's gonna
Yeah.
hurt. It's gonna hurt.
But the thing of it is, no matter how good that story is,
Uh huh.
come October, November, it's going to be as if it never happened.
Well, hey, okay, great, wonderful you brought this up because
Mm.
one of the things I've also been sharing with you via text is how supposedly
Hmm.
the new Absolute universe is like it's like the Ultimates from Marvel is
Sure.
happening
Sure.
in DC and it's supposed to be spinning out of this in some way. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So I mean, okay, I get it. What you're saying, it's going to be irrelevant. God knows
Hmm.
how long, probably sooner than later. But alas, it
Sure.
is yielding some sort of
So is
spin-offs
this
and
going to be
things.
another? Is going to be another DC event that's ending with a spin-off into another dimension, another world, another Earth? Isn't that
Yes.
like every DC event?
Uh, well, the
Well, at least it's only
multiverse.
one Earth. It's only one Earth they're spinning out to.
Apparently,
Maybe.
yes, yes. This absolute
Why not get another
Earth.
52 of them?
There you go, man. Like I said, the multiverse is a gift that just keeps on giving. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whoever thought of the multiverse deserves a royalty check beyond every
Hmm.
royalty check ever cut. You
Of
know,
course. Of
because it's
course.
given any creator just free reign to do whatever they want.
Yeah. We're
Um,
incapable of telling stories without addressing the
it
multiverse now.
really is. I know. It's
It's
become
scary.
everything. I know.
Yeah.
It's everything. But anyway, just to tie it back to Absolute Power,
Hmm.
number one. Hopefully, at least this main series retains the charm and wonderful storytelling.
And is it 4 or 6 parts?
I believe this is four. Yep, one of
Is it?
four. It says on here.
Okay. Good, good. Keep it tight. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Relatively.
sometimes you have to guess. You know what I mean? They don't
You
actually
never
put the
know.
one of on the cover, but luckily they
Yeah.
did with this one.
And sometimes they change it.
Yeah, this is true too. They did that with Swamp
Yeah.
Thing by Ram V. It was originally
Oh,
supposed to
that's
go,
right.
I think, what was it like 12 or 14, and they made it
I think so.
16.
Yeah.
So, they pulled the rug out from underneath you. And here's the other thing: they should have never have
Hmm.
done that.
Done what?
Made the series longer.
Oh, what, it fall apart?
Dude, it just wasn't great. And let me tell you
Hmm.
something. As someone who loves continuity, wants ongoing series, how often do we just, romanticize the era where a new creator came in on issue number 247 rather than relaunching a new number
Sure.
one, right?
Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
it's fantastic. It's everything. We wish they'd go back to that. So I would
Hmm.
love Swamp Thing's one of my favorite characters of all time. I
Of
want an
course.
ongoing, but dude, this story sometimes needs to be, or any story on occasion needs to be old yellered, right? The creative team, you got to go. You need fresh
Sure.
blood. So I think they should have realized at that point, hey, yeah, the fans demand it. They want 4 more issues. We can make a couple extra dollars off of this. But really, if you're reading it, you're paying attention to it. Enough said. You didn't need any more.
Sure.
So that's unfortunate. And I liked how it started. Ram V did a good
Hmm.
job on reestablishing a new Swamp Thing and everything else. But by the end of it, I was just fatigued. I'm like, dude,
Sure.
seriously? I'm not even
I mean,
in.
that's a year and a half, right?
Yeah, but
It's a long time.
as a comic reader, to be that kind of tuckered out and the issues are only in the teens says something
Yeah.
about the storytelling. You know what I mean? And nothing
Sure.
against
Sure.
Ram V. He's a great writer. I mean, I'm sure he's a wonderful man.
Hmm.
But that Swamp Thing was just getting a little bit
Long in the
tired.
tooth.
There we
Yeah.
go. Exactly. So, you know. But we're talking about comic book trends, right? We're
Hmm.
how
Hmm.
multiverses are taking over everything and how just unbelievable sometimes times have changed so much.
Oh yeah.
So why don't we get back into a topic maybe about something that's been around for quite a while now? Does that sound good to you?
Sure. Sure. Let's hit it and get it.
And
What
you
we
know
got?
exactly what I'm talking about.
I do.
Comic book speculation.
Yeah.
Insert echo here.
And you just mentioned writers coming on and having to restart the book at number one.
Mm-hmm.
We have a certain set to thank for that.
Yeah, there you go. And those people would be called speculators. Was that good?
Looky
Yeah,
loos.
the
Yeah.
I was trying not to say it, but I had to say it, so I spoke into my hand, you know. But yeah, speculators. Chris, how do you feel about comic book speculation? What do you know about the origins of comic book speculation? Tell me all about speculators and your thoughts and feelings on them, please.
Well, I almost feel hypocritical being against them since I got into comics in a big way during they were just starting to blow into the bubble really.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the mainstream was concerned, because I mean the indie boom happened in the '80s. I missed that.
Sure.
Um, but like the image and the first appearance boom and the foil covers, chromium garbage covers, I was there for it. And without all that excitement, I don't know how my trajectory as a fan would have continued or if it would have continued at all.
Okay.
So that the whole gestalt of it was pretty seminal in my fandom. That said,
Mm.
it's kind of become, the snake eating its own tail. Speculation used to be like the cherry on top of the sundae for the industry. Now it is the lifeblood. It's what's needed. Um, we're not talking. I mean, we talk very, very seldom about stories anymore. You go to any of the comic news sites. Are they talking about the stories, or are they talking about cover H?
Mm-hmm.
They're talking about the covers. They're talking about the gimmicks. They're talking about all the dead cat bounce of the industry here. They're talking about perceived interest, which is short-sighted. It doesn't do anything to help the industry,
Right.
except in the immediate. Um, but unfortunately, it's become just part of the culture of comics collecting. Speculation is what what can maybe drag a title across the finish line and keep it going for a little while longer. It's just a sign of the times. Um, the industry, no matter what the journalists are saying, it's getting smaller every day. Um, by the fandom, by the creators, it's a shrinking deal, and I don't see it getting any bigger anytime soon. And unfortunately, speculation is just one of the things we need to accept. Hate it, but we have to accept it.
Okay. Yeah.
I
No, I
mean,
hear
like,
you.
how many issues now? I was at a record store the other day, and I guess they had just gotten a collection of very new comics. So, like comics within the past 5 or 6 months. And every single one of them had a sticker on it saying, key issue, first appearance, somebody. Key issue, first appearance, somebody. And it was like the Spider Man of Earth, whatever. Spider, whatever. Bat, whatever. It was just these like real derivative, terribly uncreative characters. but that's what they're selling this stuff on. They're not selling it on story. They're not even selling it on creative teams as much anymore. It's like, here is a character who is going to appear, maybe never again, but it's a first appearance.
Mm-hmm.
And it's yet another person who can spin webs and swing through New York City. That's just what the industry is now. Everything has to be a first appearance, and they're not even good first appearances, in my opinion.
You know, we used to joke with each other how it was like, okay, well, what's the point of introducing this character? Well, it's to create a Funko Pop.
That's
Of
it.
course, it's to sell some plastic.
Mm-hmm.
I think speculation is very interesting. Okay, because for me personally, I just like you, I do not care for it. Right?
Sure.
I think it's almost like a cult, or uh, honestly, the people who can actually set the trends could be,
Mm.
in fact, cult leaders to make people follow them and their
Sure, sure.
ridiculous
And I think
ideas.
it's
Mm.
also a way to like be peripherally in comics, but not be a comic book person.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you remember, like, anytime growing up when you're like, oh, you collect comics, do you have any valuable
Yeah,
ones?
true. Yeah. No, you're right.
It's like that's what the questions are. It's never about like, oh, is that a good read? Oh, how do you
Mm-hmm.
like the art on that? Oh, how about that character? It's like, ooh, is that one worth anything?
Yeah. No, you're
And I
right.
think that gives people, it kind of is a gateway where you don't have to say you're a comic book fan, but you're a collector.
Always looking for that lottery ticket, right?
Of course,
That
it's
one
easier than
thing.
working.
Yeah, there you go. That one thing that's going to send your kids to college. But it's funny you should
Yeah.
say it's better than working, because that is a manufactured, completely hollow thing. All right.
Hmm.
Because much as I just said, speculators could be cult leaders. Okay. We know, we were there.
Hmm.
And it's been talked about ad nauseum, the bubble bursting in the 90s, but at least with that era, things were based around something monumental, something big. And it was a stunt, it was a gimmick, but it was
Sure.
still placed around a story that was being produced. We all know it, we can't avoid it. The biggest one, of course, being Death of Superman.
Sure.
Your polybag covers, trading cards and covers, holofoil, chromofoil, yada,
Yep.
yada, yada, yada.
Armbands. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. All the ephemera you love, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
But
Hmm.
okay, that was that. There was a lesson to be learned there that was taught, passed down, became even a joke to many people over the years.
Sure.
That
And then
unfortunately,
forgotten.
completely and utterly, yes, history. We're doomed to repeat it, right? If we don't
Of
learn our
course.
mistakes.
Of
Now,
course.
as you mentioned, with the shrinking industry, so many changes in the industry that we have talked about on this show, and we will continue to
Sure.
discuss in the future, that now it's not okay, well, Spider-Man's getting married, just to name an event, or this character is completely changing the status quo. It's
Hmm.
everything receives a variant, numerous variants.
Hmm.
And when you had just mentioned taking this series across the finish line, to me, that's not even on the radar, because what series would be dying that they're like, well, we can squeeze a little bit more juice out of it by coming up with cover G? Do you know what I mean?
Uh, they tried doing that during Marvel Legacy, and we
Okay.
talked about this briefly on the air, where like if you wanted the Spider-Man lenticular,
Mm-hmm.
you needed to up your order on Squirrel Girl.
Ah, okay. All right. Thank you. See,
You know,
I'm glad I
nobody
brought
bought
that up.
Squirrel Girl.
Yes.
You know, they couldn't give that away.
Mm-hmm.
But the distributors or the retailers had to order X amount of them in order to get the Spider-Man cover that people did want.
Right. I'm.
Not a one-to-one, deal there, but I mean it's the gimmicks are there.
Mm-hmm. Right. No. Okay. Well, thank you for clarifying, because I was a little lost there for a second, but you're
Hmm.
absolutely right. But even then, talking about speculation, whether it's in comics or anything else, because I
Sure.
collected cards, baseball cards for a while. What was originally, I'm going back again, not just talking about
Sure,
events,
sure.
but okay, this has value because it is a first appearance. This has value because it was, in fact, rare. That's not the case anymore. We create rarity. We, of course, doesn't exist because everything's printed
No.
beyond
Yeah,
belief. This
of
isn't
course.
like back in World War II where there was paper rations or something, or
Yeah.
there was no value in our hobby, so people would yes, lined bird cages. Dogs would chew on them.
Of
You threw them
course.
away. You rolled them
Yeah.
up in your back pocket.
Mm-hmm.
Much like I think we talked about before with ash cans as well. So
Mm-hmm.
we are being herded like sheep to believe that something is rare or
Oh
obscure
yeah.
when in all
Mm-hmm.
reality it isn't. Now,
Mm-hmm.
back to the first appearances and what have you. Okay, that was the impetus, the origin of a lot of these things, and it made sense. Everybody wanted Hulk 181,
Mm-hmm.
key character. I get it. But that eventually wasn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why I brought up baseball cards in particular was, let's say you had the Cal Ripken
Rookies.
rookie.
Yep.
Now you need relic cards. You need a piece of that bat. You need a piece of that
Sure.
jersey. You need some,
Mm-hmm.
authenticated autographs. You need something to up the ante.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are now in the comics biz with the pink holofoil covers that are
Mm-hmm.
immediately graded as 9.8 and flipped on
Sure.
eBay for hundreds of dollars,
Hundreds
thousands
of
of
bucks.
dollars.
Yeah.
And that's where the speculators live. That's their
Mm-hmm.
little, nook, the
Mm-hmm.
mossy, infested,
The
gross,
grassy knoll.
the domain of the evil speculator. That's what I wanted to try to say, not so eloquently there. But they're like, okay, well, we're gonna hype this up to no ends, and we're gonna push it like a penny stock. You know what I mean? And so
Sure.
many people will buy it. We end up with the cash. They end up at the end of the day with a crappy pink holofoil book 9.8 that they can't sell for pennies on the dollar.
Yeah. 'Cause nobody wants it. Yeah.
Nobody wants it anymore because,
Mm-hmm.
we fooled them. We got you, suckers. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And that's
And
unfortunate.
because because the next week there's going to be three more pink hologram covers out.
Well, that's the thing too.
So
You would just mention like that's how the industry is surviving because we don't have
yeah,
numbers on these things, which
of
I would
course.
be so interested in, man. It boggles my mind
Mm-hmm.
how many variants are being printed
Mm-hmm.
and how many are actually,
Going home with people.
really exactly
Yeah. Oh yeah.
because
Because all we have is ship numbers.
right.
So we have the companies and distributors made their money because the shops bought them.
Mhm.
That's the direct market. That's how it works. But there's no accounting for how many of them stay on a shelf, go into a quarter bin, or go home with someone.
Well, you had told
We don't
me,
have any information.
right, recently you went into a shop and you're looking for Cover A and you can't find it. Cover A is now the
Yeah,
more
Discover
more
is gone.
rare
Yeah.
item. People don't want the
Mm-hmm.
variants, they want Cover A. And that's another reason why if
Mm-hmm.
you are doing your previews order, you'll notice, for example, Marvel doesn't charge any extra for these variant covers. DC
No.
got a little shifty where they're like, well, we make
Oh,
ours
with the card
card stock.
stock.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So you paid an extra buck and whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like Cover A is the one that has value. It's not
Mm-hmm.
these variants. So if you're buying these variants, I know for me, and listen, man, I bought a few variants here or there because I thought the cover was cool. I thought it was neat. I thought, hey, I could pop this in a frame and hang it up on the wall. It's kind of neat looking, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I never buy it thinking, well, this is going to be
I'm
the
gonna flip
one.
this. It's an investment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. This is the thing that's going to be, I'm going to turn around. It's going to be worth 200 bucks. I'm going to,
Yep.
get it while the going's good. And,
Sure.
we had also discussed the first printing of the Superman Death of Superman trade.
Oh yeah.
You
Mm-hmm.
had seen that going on online for a few $100 or more,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't
Yep.
make any sense to us. Unfortunately,
0 cents.
we didn't get any responses from anybody on it, so I
Hmm.
assume that everybody else is perplexed by this as well.
Yeah, and I was at the record store a couple days ago. I
Mm-hmm.
sent you a picture. I
Yes.
found three copies of Death of Superman, two first prints, one fifth print. They all had $5 price tags on them,
Mm-hmm.
and they've been sitting there forever. So it's like and it's weird. There's someone on eBay that I bought from before, and I got
Mm-hmm.
one of those you might like things in
Sure.
the email. And I checked on it, and they had put up about 6 copies of the first print of Death of Superman trade for $5 each. Buy it now. So
So
it's
what
like it's so
happened?
weird. Don't know because those other ones are still there.
Who pushed it? Who made it
That's
into
a
a
good
thing?
question.
It is a great question, and that's why I
Yeah,
want to know who is the head speculator.
the ringleader.
Who is
Yeah.
that person? And over the course of the week, I was kind of
Hmm.
googling around, trying to get. I figure, listen, man, if anybody's gonna get dirty, it's me. I don't want
Hmm.
it to happen to you. So I want to get into the mind, that sick, perverted mind of the speculator, And it turns out there are actually online courses that you can take
Could you imagine?
where people teach you how to speculate, how to like manufacture the need for something that isn't there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's why I
Yeah.
said cult leader to me is the most appropriate way to
Oh
describe
yeah.
a
Yeah,
speculator.
like
You know what I mean?
a demented Tony Robbins or
Yeah,
something.
there you go.
Um,
Exactly.
I mean, look at Ultimate Spider-Man #1 that came out, what, 4 months ago?
Mm-hmm.
Printed probably in the hundreds of thousands of copies. A week after it came out, $200.
Mm-hmm.
No matter where you go, $200 for a book that just came out that was printed in excess. I mean, there has to be something behind that.
Yeah, of course.
Because if you want a copy of that, it shouldn't be hard to find. If there's hundreds of thousands of them out there.
Yeah, what was that game too, where people used to whisper in other people's ears and the message would
Oh,
always change?
telephone?
There you go, telephone. It's the
Yeah.
same thing. You know, one person says to another guy,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, this one,
There's a hot book.
this is
Yeah.
going to be hot," and then someone else is in the comic
Mm-hmm.
shop says it. Someone overhears them, but ooh, this book's going to be hot. Oh, you know what?
Oh
Let's go
yeah.
with that. Bing, bang, bing, bang, boom. And before you
Mm-hmm.
know it, a book that's probably barely even worth the paper it's printed on
Yeah.
is all of a sudden, yeah, a $200 book, and I'm sure
$200 book.
CGC is getting flooded with packages of people wanting those
Oh
things
yeah.
graded. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
Yeah, they're gonna, the 9 and the 9.6 is gonna, they're gonna run out of ink on that
I
stamp.
know, and that's another part of the whole
Yeah.
speculation game too. Is it's not just raw copies; it's also people
Yep.
wanting things slabbed,
Mm-hmm.
and thereby hopefully increasing the value on
Yeah.
said investment. I
And that's when they
personally,
cease being comic books.
I personally can't stand it. I don't have the stomach for it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like you just mentioned the you had a copy of the Death of Superman trade. You could have went
Sure.
online.
It's right behind me. Yeah.
You could have hopped on the eBay and tried to sell it and flip it for whatever amount of money, but you didn't.
Sure. Nope.
Why?
That's I think that's gross.
Mm,
um, I mean, I'm the guy, and I don't want to talk like I'm some sort of, bin
saint.
diving angel or
Yeah.
anything. Yeah. But I mean, I've found valuable books in like the 50-cent bins that I already had, and I leave them there
Hmm.
because I want other people to find them. I found, a Man of Steel 17, the first appearance of Doomsday, the first time you see the fist. Found that in a 50-cent bin. That thing can go for 40, $50. I left it in there because I want someone else to find it. I want another person like me to see it and have their heart skip a beat and be like, oh, I need this one. Unfortunately, all I did was make it easier for someone to flip it. But I like to be, a little Pollyanna-ish, I guess. I found the first, what was it, Next Men 21, the first color appearance of Hellboy.
Right.
I had a copy of that, and then I found another one in the dollar bin, and I left it there. Could have snagged it, but I didn't. I figure, a fellow traveler will appreciate it.
It's funny
You
you
know,
say
I
that because
hmm,
I immediately think, okay, this is for love of the game, right?
sure.
But then when you talk about leaving it there for the next person,
Hmm.
I think about fishing. And all right, well, I don't really need this fish, so you throw it back in the
Hmm.
water. And by the way, I'm not a fisherman.
Sure.
This is just an analogy that popped into my head. The
I
next,
mean, hunting and fishing are very, bin diving and fishing are very
oh,
similar.
there you go. I'm scared of fish.
There is overlap.
I don't like touching fish, so just to let you
I
know,
wouldn't want to touch a fish
there
either.
you go. But okay, one
I don't, I
person,
don't, I don't touch cans of clam chowder.
hey, we've established that. One
Yes.
person could find it and be starving, needs food to survive, and that fish is his sustenance. That's the thing.
Sure.
Another person could catch the same fish and mount it on his wall on a plaque as a trophy.
Sure.
So there you go. There's the two types of collectors we have right there. Me and you
It's true.
are the people who eat the fish to survive.
Of course.
Speculators are the
Yeah.
people who mount the fish on their wall and say,
Hmm.
"Look at that.
Yeah.
I killed
Anybody
that.
who darkens their door gets to look at it.
I
Yeah.
killed that thing right there." And that's basically what it is. You know what I
It's
mean?
true. It's
And
true.
I don't know. I came across some interesting articles when I was surfing the internet.
Hmm.
Ooh, hang 10, man. I sent you one about a collection that I found very interesting. I don't know if you took the
Oh, the
time
guy
to
who
read
like
it.
moved to he moved to like Tucson, Arizona. He moved up to like Oregon or
Yeah, and actually,
yeah.
I think I have it here somewhere, but I found it interesting because to me it was like the first guy who was like kind of does what mail order does now by getting a discount. The
Hmm.
Susha I think I'm saying that right. Susha News Collection. Um, this article was actually posted in 2010, so it's quite old. But this one
Hmm.
guy who I want to say it was Wisconsin, Sheboygan, which is a great thing to
Hmm.
say. Sheboygan.
It is.
His local shop was Susha News, and back in the 60s, he was buying so many comic books. He actually went there and said, "Listen, I'm buying so many. Why don't you give me 10 cents off?" And for the sheer volume that I buy, so you don't have to. I'll come in, I'll cherry pick them off the pallets and everything,
Sure.
lighten your load. And of course, like any true blue, red blooded collector, you think, well, he's going to end up saving money in the long run. He just ended up buying more. We've all
Of
been there. We
course.
know
Yeah, I
exactly
mean,
what
yeah,
that's like.
you use your savings. I mean, that's what we do with mail order. It's
Exactly, right.
we save money so we can buy more.
But I found this interesting because his collection was so pristine and so complete that when he decided to sell it, someone obviously graded it here. I'm looking at pictures of 9.8 Avengers number 13 and decided to sell it. So there
Hmm.
you go. I mean, that to me, it beats any kind of form of variant cover speculation. Do
Hmm.
you know what I
Because that's
mean?
actual rarity.
It's
That's actual
actual
like a
rarity
pristine copy of a 60-year-old book.
and it's unique.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I don't have the kind of fundage to be investing in any of these collections that are being suddenly
No,
found or
no.
whatnot. But I would get that. I would say, all right, well, that's an investment, Dave. Is that person
Mhm.
speculating because they're buying a 9.8 Avengers number 13? And I'm like, well, I think at that point in time, you're probably very independently wealthy and you probably just love comics like nobody's business. Because really, whatever you're
Because
paying
you could
for
you
it, you don't think you're
yeah,
going to get more. You're paying top dollar for
yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, if you are a speculator in just the broadest of sense, you want to buy things that are going to go up in value,
Mm-hmm.
you're probably not going to buy comics. You're probably going to play the stock market. You're probably going to invest in corporations. You're
Mm-hmm.
probably going to do things that will bear a more guaranteed or at least a more potentially lucrative outcome than buying an old comic book.
Well, the tactics are
Because like
still
you
the
said,
same.
oh, they are still the same, but the short-sightedness of doing that for comics is like mind-boggling. Because like you said, this guy probably paid top of the market for what that was,
Mm-hmm.
and it would take an act of God for him to get a good return on that investment.
Right. No, I dig
So
that.
this is
I
something
get
he
it.
wants. Yeah,
Right. But comic speculation in itself, flipping and reselling, is obviously a profitable thing because
of
it's
course.
yet
Otherwise, no one
again,
would do it.
it dominates
Yeah,
the industry now. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Otherwise,
It is the
publishers
industry.
wouldn't be producing what they
Hmm.
produce. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. What was it? A year or two ago when George Perez passed away,
Yes.
Marvel and DC did that thing where they reissued JLA Avengers
Mm-hmm.
because they wanted to do some good, but they limited it to like 1,000 copies.
Right.
It's like, well, if you really wanted to do some good, how about you just balls to the wall, as many as people want?
Uh-huh.
No, no, it has to be. They have to put that little twist on it. It has to be. It can't be fully altruistic. It has to be a stunt.
Well, I don't remember what they were charging for that.
I think it was like 60 or 70 bucks.
Okay, and I get
Yeah.
that. But yeah, if you're obviously saying it's rare from the get go, and the money's going to charity,
Mhm.
you would think yes, $100 item, even though the original trade sold for 24.99 or
Yeah.
something. You know what I mean? But you're right.
But it's like if you really want to help the charity, print as many as you need.
Hmm.
Print thousands, hundreds of thousands of them, and then the charity will be more successful. You'll feel better about yourself.
I get that.
George Perez's legacy would be, even higher in people's esteem.
I totally understand that. Sure.
But they have to put they have to remind us that it's comics, and that with
Hmm.
comics come stunts.
Yeah, of course. And man, I'm gonna beat the dead horse. I want numbers so bad.
Hmm.
I really do because I cannot put my finger on how Dynamite stays in business
Hmm.
printing 24 variants to one issue that has zero significance whatsoever.
Yeah, people like there's 12 readers. Yeah,
Well, even then, it's just like what happened in this issue of Red Sonja. Nothing of note. But we have the Virgin variant. We have the 12 different artists. We have the
yeah.
whatever the foil and this and that. You know what I mean? It's just
Oh
like
yeah.
what is going on? And then when I would subscribe to Dynamite Books, just again for the story,
Hmm.
when the pre-order would roll around, the previews, I'd always get an email saying, this one title has a book over $10, just to warn you. You know what I mean? Because you got to select your variant
Hmm.
covers because that's now a thing
Sure,
too.
sure.
And I'm like, well,
Yeah,
it got to
yeah,
be Dynamite. And I'd open it up. Sure enough, it was Dynamite. You
yeah,
know? So I'm like, geez Louise. But the whole perceived notion of something being rare, we all got to throw that out the window.
yeah,
We really do. Even with the thing that's like 1,000 copies, I get it. You want to get your finger on it, George Perez, everything else. But geez, man, are you painting yourself into a corner with that? You know what I mean?
hmm,
I don't know. I just, yet again, the 90s was a lesson to be learned, and we are here in 2024, and we've got zero to show for it.
yeah,
Really. Just two
yeah.
guys
'Cause
talking on YouTube
yeah,
complaining about
it's
it
true.
like the freaking grumpy Muppets up in the freaking rafters.
Hmm.
But it's true. What we're saying is reality, yet we could yell and scream and shake people and be like, come on, man.
Yeah,
Don't you
yeah,
remember? Maybe you're not old enough, but geez, you can read. This isn't going to go
yeah.
anywhere for you long term.
But if some jag on Bleeding Cool says that ignore what your eyes and ears tell you, people will.
Well, Bleeding Cool, I wouldn't say as much on pushing speculation, just to be fair, because there are plenty,
Hmm.
trust me, there are plenty of
Oh, it's been ages since I visited. So,
and like I said, there are classes you can take online now. I almost like
sure.
threw my phone in disgust. I'm like, geez, this can't be real. Oh my God. Someone please delete my browsing history.
Yeah.
I don't want to be associated with this, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's like just it's a legitimate thing. It's so
Hmm.
real, and people are getting away with it. It's like crime, like seriously. I don't know. I'm flabbergasted right now, and I
Yeah.
feel like I've said many different ways or many different words to be used just to say I'm so confused and discombobulated over the whole thing that it just
Yeah. No, sir, we don't like it.
there you go. We just don't like it,
Hmm.
and I hinted like speculators should be burned at the stake. You know, am I kidding? Kinda, sorta. I don't want to hurt anybody for real, legitimately. No
I just
violence,
hope
but come on.
I just hope that when the speculators are done with us this time, that
Hmm.
there's still an industry left. Because they left in the 90s
Uh huh.
and things were the front end of the 90s and the back end of the 90s were very, very different.
Right.
The back end of the 90s was an industry that had appeared to have learned its lesson and was very humble.
Hmm.
It was very humble,
Well, I
and that
mean,
kind of
how
went
many
away.
how many retail shops were killed?
Oh,
How
probably
many
over
how
half.
many people lost their shirts? Like 9 out of 10 stores
Hmm.
probably went out of
Of
business
course. Sure,
because
sure.
they had boxes of different
X-Men
variants
number
and
one.
stunts. Yeah,
Yeah,
there you go, just sitting in the back that they had
yeah.
ordered more than their regular
Hmm.
titles because they're like, well, why am I going
Sure.
to sell Spider-Man 367 when everybody wants X-Men number one, right? And then suddenly people don't want
Hmm.
X-Men number one anymore.
Yeah, because they already have it. Everybody who wants it has it.
There you go, and you got crates of it, man.
Hmm.
Too bad you
Oh
can't eat
yeah.
them. Too bad you can't survive off them
I mean,
because.
you could probably
I was gonna say let's put that to
pour
the
pour
test, but no.
pour a
Yet
little
again,
protein powder on them. Maybe smear some peanut butter.
yeah, no. Maybe you could smoke them because you're probably
I'm sure you
high
could.
to invest that much in them to begin with. You know what I mean?
I love it when the flame hits the staple.
There you go, right? But speculation. So what's the future? You just said when the next wave hits. So is it going to go
Yeah.
away? I'm the person I divinely and utterly believe Pandora's box has been opened. It's like the evil spirit that we got rid of in the 90s, we sealed away, has been reopened. Pinhead
Oh
is
yeah.
back out, you know what I mean, out of the puzzle box.
Hmm.
How do we get it back in? I don't think we're going
Hmm.
to. I don't think we can.
No, I think the ship's left the dock. Yeah.
This is Custer's last stand of speculation. Either the industry keeps
Hmm.
going and they work in conjunction with each other side by side, and this is just the status quo going forward,
Hmm.
or people just get fed up enough and they want to beat the demon yet again back down into its hiding place. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
because I don't think we're at a point where I don't think variant covers are ever going away,
Mm-hmm.
and those are kind of the harbinger of speculation right now. They
Mm-hmm.
are what leads us down this primrose path, and They ain't going anywhere.
You know,
They're not going to go from 16 covers to one. That's just not going to happen.
well, it's so rare that when you find out a comic only has one cover. Do you know what I mean? You're like,
I can't. Yeah, like maybe those throwaway flashback miniseries that Marvel put out like a year ago,
well,
like the
no.
Captain Marvel one. Um, I'm trying to think of ones that have just a singular cover.
Well, recently I can attest to Saga only has one cover,
Okay.
but there was a Dark Horse title which I bought, and I wish I didn't,
Hmm.
called The Writer, and that
Okay.
series only has one cover per.
Okay.
So there was a Garth Ennis, I think it was a 007 thing, and I think it was Dynamite even.
Oy.
Only one cover. So there you go. Mark that on your calendar.
They must have
Like,
run out of toner.
holy
Yeah.
moly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's so few and far between now.
Yeah.
It's insanity. I mean,
Hmm.
and even when I was digging online, I was trying to like get into when did speculation start? When was the origin of this? And a lot of people cited Shazam #1 from DC Comics, the one that has Superman on the cover, and people being,
Oh, opening the curtain.
yeah, being so excited about it that they bought a few copies because they thought it was important. They thought this was,
Hmm.
going to be something, to hang their hat on in the future.
Sure.
But other than that, it's really just you fast forward to yet again the 1990s, and that was, I think everybody was going gaga over anything Beanie Babies, baseball
Oh yeah.
cards,
People were
comics,
just looking for the easy way. Yeah.
Pokemon cards, that sort of
I'm
thing.
trying to remember. I've never found an actual copy of this, but there was like an article in the Wall Street Journal, probably late '80s,
Mm-hmm.
that was a lot of people's first um, inkling that comics were an investment. I, Me and Reggie would talk about this and cite it all the time because we find citations to it, but we've never actually found the actual, the original article.
Okay.
But a lot of that was born out of, if I'm not mistaken, and I very well might be, but Ninja Turtles, because Ninja Turtles like hit the ground like an asteroid. It just sold out everywhere. It went nuts. It triggered an entire black and white comics boom, basically. I wasn't there for it. I was, a little later than that, but I think that told people that comics could be an investment because a book that had a $2 or $3 price tag on it was suddenly demanding three figures, and it was a comic that no one had ever heard of. So when you look at that, and then you look at all the comics that people have heard of, the investment opportunities just seem astronomical. The sky's the limit.
Right.
And coming off that Wall Street Journal article is when a lot of the gimmicks started to peak. You know, McFarlane Spider-Man #1 with the multiple covers,
Yeah.
X-Men #1 with the multiple covers, X-Force #1 with the multiple trading cards, Death of Superman, all the Image stuff, foil covers, chromium covers, cards packed in, all that sort of stuff. Um, I can't say it's definite that this Wall Street Journal article triggered anything, but the timing was suspect. At least it was in the air. It
Yeah.
was in the ether that comics were not just for reading anymore, or actually not at all for reading anymore. When we look at the early Image stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it was just for the potential of flipping it and buying yourself a new car, buying yourself a new house, as the joke goes, going through college, putting yourself through college. It's
Well, you bring up the whole black and white boom of the 1980s, but in the case of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that was a small publisher,
mm-hmm.
indie, with a limited print run. Makes
Of
sense.
course.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Rarity, scarcity,
It
real
was legit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I start to think about how we've mentioned many times on this episode how so many people think that one issue is going to be so significant. It's
It's
going
going
to
to
be
change our lives.
right. And
Mm-hmm.
I would hope that someone maybe who's like, well, let me listen to these yahoos talk about speculation because I'm a speculator. I'm a flipper.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see
Mm-hmm.
what they have to say about it. And maybe they're sitting there and they're like, geez, Dave and Chris really changed my mind. Because I do like, no, wait, hold on. I know it's so, this is even rarer than probably
Yeah.
Action Comics #1. But they're probably like, they're kind of right. I love comics. Why am I doing this? And then they look out the window and they go, well, I never found that one. But since I flipped 800 comics, I put a deposit on that in-ground pool I got out there that my kids really enjoy. So you know what? Forget those guys. They don't know what they're
Oh,
talking about.
sure. Well, I mean, clearly it's working for people who do it.
Mm-hmm.
So
And it's by
all we're
volume.
doing, yeah,
You know what
by
I mean?
volume or by luck.
Yeah.
Because one of those people trying to sell the Death of Superman trade is going to get $1,000 for it. One of them will eventually, because
Mm-hmm.
people don't do their homework.
A sucker born
They
every
see
minute.
something, they see first print, and they're like, "Ooh, only $1,000. Let's do it."
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you can go to your local record store or wherever and get it for a couple bucks. It's gonna. If it didn't work, people wouldn't do it,
Yeah.
and it just takes one.
And then when I have something of value, I like knowing that I have something of value. Does that make any
Well,
sense?
yeah. No, it totally does. Because I mean,
You know?
especially coming into the hobby when we did and being
Mm-hmm.
bombarded with those damn questions. Do you have anything valuable? Do you
Yeah.
have anything valuable? It's nice to be able to say, yes, I do. Especially, I mean, with me, if I ever announce to the world that I'm dropping a book, everybody in the world should start buying the book immediately because something huge is going to happen.
I know. I know, dude.
It
Exactly.
never fails
I've said that
every
many
time.
times. Yes,
So,
yes, yep.
so it's like if I ever stop collecting, somebody else needs to start buying because they will make money.
Yeah. And I just like having it in my collection, being like, yeah, that's worth $30. Hey, But
Sure, I mean that's
I'm not
yeah,
salivating to slab it and sell it. That's the
no, of course
difference.
not.
I'm not
No,
like,
because and growing up like with the Marvel trading cards,
mm-hmm,
sometimes I don't remember which series it was, but like on the back of it, there would be like a picture of the first cover the character was ever on, or a picture of the issue where they made their first appearance.
yeah,
So it's like having those books. It's like you're holding history. I
mm-hmm,
mean, it's romanticized, of course, but it is like you're holding a piece of history. It's like, oh my God, the first Kitty Pryde. Holy cow, I have it.
yeah,
It's in my box right now.
mm-hmm.
That's a cool feeling.
It is.
If it's worth $5 or if it's worth $500, it's still cool having a piece of history.
Yep.
And what's more, you can look at it, you recognize the cover because there was only one,
Mm-hmm.
and covers meant something. And it was like, wow, I can look at 100 different comics, but I'm gonna always know that one because it's got an iconic cover to me. It's the only cover that exists, and it's special.
Mm-hmm. Right
And we
on.
just don't have that anymore.
Right on, brother. Right on. You know what's even more rare than any comic
Huh?
on the face of the earth?
Was
The
that?
fact that we're almost an hour into this live stream and I
Whoa!
haven't mentioned.
You haven't mentioned the email yet.
Yeah, exactly. You see, you knew it right off the bat, baby. Because I
I
want to
did
hear
because
what people think about speculation. If you are a
for
speculator,
sure,
you are a flipper. Hey, you know what? I still want to hear from you. Maybe
of
you,
course.
maybe you can make a point to me or explain the whole ecosystem of everything to me a little bit better and be like, dude, you guys aren't being fair. You don't get it. You don't understand.
I mean, because we don't want to deprive people of paying their bills or
Yeah.
eating.
No,
You
no,
know,
no, no.
comic shops flip. And we still support them.
Do we though?
Comic
Do we?
shops.
Well, listen.
I'm there all the
Hold
time.
on. Let me get the email out of my face real quick. I know it's been on screen, but badabinshow@gmail.com. Reach out. And again, if you get any numbers on variants or anything, dude, I want those. Like, give them to me. I know. I seriously like my body is heating up right now. My freaking whatever. What I was gonna say. What
Your
is?
synapses are firing.
No, I was gonna say something else, and I just can't say it because I'm a moron. Um, what's this? Your stats, your body stats, your vitals
Your vital signs.
going
Yeah.
cuckoo. Give me those
Mm-hmm,
numbers.
mm-hmm,
I can't speak. But anyway, yeah, comic shops. Like if I went into a store and I've
mm-hmm.
been there, so this is a true story, folks. And they're like, "Hey, man, I know you love Swamp Thing, so I pulled this Justice League Dark variant they have. I want to see if maybe you're interested in it." I
Mm-hmm.
look at it. It's cool. I'm like, "Well, how much you want for it?" Oh, $25. I'm like, "What?
Oh, kiss my
What?
ass. Yeah.
No,
No.
I ain't paying. No, dude, no way. You could drop the price to 17. Is it cover price? If it's not cover price, I ain't interested in it.
Send it back.
And guess
Yeah.
guess who doesn't frequent that store anymore? This guy. Okay. So when you're talking about supporting comic stores, hey man, I get it. You're brick and mortar. You're
Mhm.
just trying to make a little money. You're trying to survive. Yet again, as Chris just eloquently stated, no matter who you are, no matter what you do, we're all just little bugs on this mud ball floating around the cosmos, trying to make it by. I get it.
That's it.
I can, respect it to a degree. Just don't think you're ripping me off.
No,
Okay.
no. I mean, but there is, what PT bought them, right? Sucker born every
Yeah,
day, every minute.
exactly. I
They can
mentioned
have
that
it.
earlier. You didn't hear me. You must have just completely ignored me when I said that
Yeah.
line. So I did it first.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, I said that. A sucker born
Oh,
every minute.
whoops.
So
Maybe you cut out on me because you have been freezing a little bit.
really, what an excuse.
You're frozen right now, as a matter of fact.
Really, I think you're just
No,
manufacturing.
no, I can. There, wait, you're moving now.
See,
Wait.
you're making this up.
No, 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 no. I swear.
Yeah, this is like the value of the pink hollow
There you go. You're
foil.
back now.
This is like the value of those pink hollow foils of Superman number 15 or whatever. You're just
Totally
manufacturing
legit.
facts to your benefit.
No,
Okay?
I'm real news.
You
You're frozen for a second.
All right, well there we go. Let me switch to
You're back now.
screens so people can actually see
Now you're frozen.
oh geez. Just
Now
say,
you're deaf. Now I can't hear you.
are you serious?
Oh boy.
Is this legitimate?
I wish this was a bit. It's not a bit. I can't
Wow.
hear. You're frozen on me.
Wow, I can see myself fine. Everything is moving. This is really weird. I think this is very bizarre.
I got a few words of that,
Okay.
but there's still no movement.
Okay. We'll just keep going. I mean, people are watching. I got to keep speaking. I got to keep talking while Chris figures this whole thing out, I guess.
Huh.
Yes. Hmm.
Let's see here, and yeah, you're still frozen, but I can hear you now, so we can talk.
Okay. I'm trying to check our actual stream to see if I am freezing or what's going on here because it's very perplexing.
Yeah. If I had to take a screenshot, I'd send it to you. I'm still here.
Okay. Well, let's see if the audience replies.
How about now? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. I've heard you fine this whole time. Nothing's happened. That's why I don't know what's going on.
Can't hear you.
This is the worst live stream of all time. What have I done? Sweet Mother of God.
Skype sound.
Huh?
I got the Skype ringing sound right now.
Really?
There you go. There you go. I think you're back.
This is so weird. I don't know.
Yeah, I had like this. I had like that sonar Skype sound for a second.
I'm actually looking at our YouTube stream right now. I'm moving. It looks
Hmm.
in a fluid fashion.
Hmm.
So I don't know.
Weird.
This is.
It must be a Skype issue then.
I was gonna say this is like the worst live stream we've ever done because we just looked at the screen together, confused. Can you
Mhm.
hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay, I don't even know when you're listening or when you're not. So there you go.
Can you hear me?
I've heard you fine this entire time.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, you froze up and you stopped talking for a bit there.
Oh, geez, Louise. All right, well, let's change the
Hmm.
subject. Maybe it's angry speculators out there who are
Yeah.
clogging up the stream. I don't know.
Oh Lord,
I don't know
you're
what to
frozen
tell you.
again.
Oh, Jesus, Louises. Maybe we should hang up and call again or something. I don't know. Somebody help us. Somebody, please. Give us a hand. I don't know what's going on. Is my family using too many devices? All right, well, live stream problems do in fact occur. Ooh. Okay. So what we're gonna do is
Oh, I hear you. I can hear you, but I can't see you. Okay, you're back.
maybe
At
maybe we
least
should
audio.
maybe we should hang up and call again or something, or hang up on me and recall me, and we can try.
Does that work?
I can make it work, I suppose, somehow, some way,
Okay.
because this is very embarrassing. I don't know if I'm ever gonna be able to live this down.
I know. I'm 2 inches from the ledge as it is. So.
All right, let's
Okay.
let me
Okay.
do this and see if this works. Okay, everybody, I am sorry for the technical difficulties. Hold on, we will be right back. Sound. All right, let's see if this works. Am I there?
You are here.
Okay, it might get choppy for a second, but let's see what was happening.
Okie dokie.
All right, so I wanted to change topics around, provided you're willing to do that now that we've had our weird technical issue of
Sure.
the day.
I am. I am but a passenger on this trip.
Okay, great, because, and I do want to apologize to everybody out there. I don't know what's going
Oh
on.
yeah.
Um,
No, this is weirdness.
I'm just going to blame Chris for
Uh huh.
everything,
That's fine.
you know.
I'm usually at fault.
Yeah, and I do want to apologize for how I deal with stress because I was like, I don't know what's going on here. I'm so sorry. But anyway,
Hmm.
as we move on, ephemera was one of your favorite things
It is.
ever. And this
Mm-hmm.
week, you've acquired some new pieces that I think the audience deserves to see. Would you like to show us
I would.
what you got
I
cooking, man?
would. Now the first one here is well, they're both kind of interesting,
Mm-hmm.
but this one I found it was a $1.99 in a magazine bin here. It's I showed off my little audio cassettes of the Superman radio show back in the day. Here's a book of the scripts. I don't know why this is a necessary thing that exists in our world, but it does. And it's it's basically exactly what it says on the cover. It's scripts. I haven't read them, probably never will, but I thought it was too cool to leave behind. Um, it's the Superman Radio Scripts Volume 1. I don't know if there's a Volume 2. It would surprise me very much if there was. It's Superman versus the Atom Man, which I was hoping was some of the episodes I had on the cassettes, but they're not. So this is a different era of the Superman radio show. Thought it was cool. $1.99, can't leave it behind. Um, Now, the book that I found, and it wasn't even with the comics, but it was one that I recognized the name on the words on the spine. And the spine, it says here, "But I digress." And I saw this from across a crowded store, and like everything parted, and was like, does that say "But I digress"? Like, it can't be that. But I digress. And then I pull it out, and sure enough, it's a picture of one of our favorites, Peter David, drawn by Neil
There
Gaiman.
he is.
There he is. It's a collection of his articles from the Comics Buyer's Guide. And these were very special to me back in the day. Um, this is just like a smattering, like a best of, and it's broken up by chapters. So, like, there are certain chapters here that I skipped in reading it because I have no interest in like things like Star Trek, and he's a big Star Trek guy, I guess. And I know he wrote Star Trek for DC for a bit. And there's like a chapter on movies, and I don't care about that, so I skipped those. But his articles were something I've known about for a very long time. I don't know if you remember the early days of AOL. We had to pay hourly. Do you remember that, Dave?
Actually, I was not on AOL at that time, so I never paid a red cent.
Ah, oh, lucky you. Yeah, I was on it from probably 94, 95, maybe. It was early. My first AOL was like 1 point something. It was monochrome, no color. It was just like a gold text and a black background. And that was AOL. But I would go to the message boards, the bulletin boards, the BBSs, the Usenets, the stuff like that, because every once in a while people would transcribe articles of But I Digress from Comics Buyer's Guide into the forums. And since we were paying hourly, I would go on a couple times a week, and then I would. It's going to be weird. Anybody younger than us watching, if in fact there is anybody younger than us watching, um, may not realize the need for such a thing. But I remember going in and printing them
Oh
out
yeah.
so I wouldn't, spend all my precious minutes like free because you get like every month you get like 5 free hours.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you worked your way through those 5 free hours, every hour after that was like $4. So you're paying like $3.95 an hour to be on AOL,
Right.
which is a lot of damn money. Especially if you lose track of it and you're on there 5 or 6 hours. It's like, wow, that's 20 some odd dollars. So not great. So I would go on and I would print out, but I digress. I would print out some of like Dave Sims' essays that he would write, and then I'd print out like wrestling newsletters and stuff. So I would have my reading for the next few days. And the Peter David stuff was always like top of the pile because, and you know, it's heartbreaking seeing this stuff now, some 20, 25, 30, 40
It's
years,
been a while.
however old I
Yeah,
am now.
yeah.
It's been ages. It's been ages. I mean, this is, you know, I probably started reading his stuff in like 94, 95. So I
Mm.
was 14, 15. I'm 44 right now. So 30
Uh,
years. Um, and I remember just being so inspired by them because I always wanted to be, you know, a creative, you know?
right.
So there I am, 15 years old, whole life ahead of me. And I'm reading these essays and it's like, oh man, that could be me one day. And then rediscovering the book now, approaching middle age or way past middle age, depending on how long I make it,
Mm.
um, very depressing to look back and be like, wow, I wasted a lot of time. I wasted a lot of my
Yeah.
life
Well,
waiting for God only knows what. That's kind of like when we started the show today. You're like, how you been? I'm like, you know, uh, a lot of that is due to reading this book and realizing that time is a cruel son of a bitch, and that I've everything I thought was going to happen to me back then didn't.
mm.
Um, I just kept getting in my own way, and as it stands now, I will continue to until I'm in the ground. And it's sad, you know. It's still, you know, a lot of good reads in there, but yeah, it was a shock to the system.
What am I? What am I?
Kind of
Chopped
wasn't
liver?
prepared for it.
Come on, man.
How's that?
You know, because you're like, well, this book bummed me out because I wanted to be a creative. I wanted to express my
Hmm.
opinion someday. It never panned out for me, so now I'm all, gloomy about it. But guess what, buddy?
Hmm.
You did even better than that because now you're here talking with me today about all the other comic subjects that we discuss. Now, mind you, maybe the forum isn't as big as what Peter David had, or there's not some kid out
Hmm.
there paying $4.99 an hour or a minute, or God knows how
Sure,
to print out what you're saying. But you're still reaching some
sure.
folks. So you know what?
Oh,
Turn that frown upside down.
but it's I'm talking about things that other people have done.
Okay.
You know, I thought it was going to be the other way around. I thought I was going to have things that I've given to the world that had some sort of value,
Mm-hmm.
or at least entertain people. And all I do now is talk about the stuff other people do, and that's a bummer.
Well, we all got our place,
That's a
man.
bummer.
You know what I mean? I wanted to be a comic book writer
And
someday. I wanted to be involved too. But you know what? Some things just don't. And guess what? Life isn't over. So you never know what can happen.
well, yeah,
But at the same time, that's like the most optimistic thing anybody could say.
of course,
Because
of
we
course.
all know, 15 years from now, it's going to be me and you on YouTube probably still doing the Bada Bin show going, hey, remember that time
Yep,
we were depressed about those Peter David articles, but I digress? Well, now we can
yep,
legitimately be depressed about them because we didn't do jack squat.
yep. And now it's even
Yeah,
worse.
there you go.
Now I found volume two in the at the record store. And, oh
Right.
Jesus! No, it's a bummer.
Yeah,
It
well.
is definitely a bummer. But something in these books is, you know, we're talking about things like speculation. We're complaining about variant
Mm-hmm.
covers. Peter David was doing that in 1990.
Sure.
He was talking about cover gimmicks.
Yeah.
He was talking about speculation. He was talking about, you know, false uh, attributions of value onto comics and how it's ruining the
Yeah.
industry 40 years ago, you know, 35 years ago. And here we are.
Right. But we
And we're
established
still,
that. You know what I mean? We just
yeah,
didn't learn. We didn't. Yet
yeah,
again, I had brought up it was a joke to people, this whole
of course.
speculation bubble bursting. And we were like, ha ha
Hmm.
ha. Remember those days? I know.
Remember those
Yeah,
idiots?
yeah. What
Yeah.
fools we all were, right?
Oh,
Yet,
oh boy, you remember chromium covers? Ha ha
yet
ha
here we
ha.
are again. It's 2024. We're
Yeah.
doing it all over. New Kids on the Block are still
Hmm.
touring. You know what I mean?
I'm sure they're on a cruise boat
Yeah,
somewhere. Yeah.
Martha Stewart has her own line of wines called like 13 Crimes or something. This is.
Okay.
You didn't see Back to the Future, did you?
Yeah.
Okay, do you
Yeah.
remember when Marty is trying to explain the 80s to Doc Brown? And Doc Brown goes, well, who's president? And he's like, Ronald Reagan.
Hmm.
The actor? Like, that's just ridiculous. Like, you just can't. He
Hmm.
can't fathom the fact that that could be reality. This
Yep.
guy was in a movie with a chimp, and now he's the leader of
Yep.
the free world. Well, we're in the same boat right now. Whether it's the examples
Hmm.
I just gave you, Or I
Sure,
mean, we could go beyond. Where is this bizarro
of
world
course.
that we live in? You know what I mean? Is this for real?
It's
Yeah,
unbelievable.
yeah, it is
Yeah,
unbelievable. But yet again, here we are. We just gotta do the best with what we have. You know what I mean?
it's
That's
true.
it, baby. That's it.
It is
But
true.
going down memory lane with those, other than the fact it's making you feel really bummed out,
Mm.
are you glad you picked it up? Because listen, you
Oh
mentioned
yeah,
the
yeah.
radio scripts. You're like, I bought it. I'll never read it. This, you dug right in.
Oh yeah, I jumped right
Mm-hmm.
into it. Yeah, and found out that Pad actually frequented my first comic store,
Mm.
because I knew Pad lived near me back when I was in Long
Right.
Island. Um, I think he lived in like Bayport or Blue Point or something like that, which is like I was in Oakdale, then there was Sayville, and then there was Bayport Blue Point, like right on the other side of Sayville. And the comic shop I went to was Amazing Comics in Sayville. And like the first article I read in here is like I was visiting Amazing Comics in Sayville.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
Wow.
small
Yeah.
world. And I mean, I was there like every day for a while, so I'm sure I probably saw him. Didn't know who he was, and he might have known who
Well,
I was,
stranger danger,
but
right?
run away,
Was the floor
run away.
particularly slippery in that shop?
On certain
Yeah, there
days.
you go. Those are the days that
Yeah.
PAD was there. Yes, indeed. And listen, I love Peter David. Don't get me wrong. He influenced a
Mhm.
lot of my comic book reading. And as a matter of fact,
Sure.
a little connection, speaking about old internet stuff, I had mentioned to you in the past how I used to speak with him on the comic boards, Alvaro's comic
Hmm.
boards.
Yeah, Alvaro. Yeah.
Alvaro, yeah, there we go.
Or whatever, however you say
Yeah,
it. Yeah, we both say it
tomato,
wrong, probably.
tomato. But this is when
Yeah.
he did the Captain Marvel Genusville series. And man, it was
Sure.
great talking to him. He was pretty cool, man, and he was right on and very
Oh yeah.
accessible, and it was neat, because as
Hmm.
someone who, I'm living in wherever, and I'm not going to comic cons or what have you, to be able to speak to a creator one on one, especially for a book that you
Oh yeah.
love, was a very
Hmm.
special, unique thing. It's just, unfortunately, as you grow up and as you age, and some of the ridiculousness that has surrounded Peter David, and some of the interactions since have been a little, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, we'll just say yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can make fun of the guy a little bit. Sorry, guy. I love you. Thank you, but I'm still gonna make fun of you from here
Hmm.
to there. Sprinkle it in a little bit. So, but remember the respect. It's intact.
It's
It's
there.
intact.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Sure. And it's funny how like reading these things, it's almost become a template for how people conducted themselves on message boards.
Really.
Like the way that he writes, you could see people have like the people of Alvaro and BBC, BBSs, and Usenet. It's almost like template. It's like they write in the same sort of format that Peter David did
Mm-hmm.
back then. I don't know if they were trying to curry favor or if it just worked because it does. Don't know.
Okay.
Don't know. But it was definitely a flashback. It took me back to weird days. And we what is that phenomenon where like you don't think about something, but then like you happen across like a whole bunch of stuff about the same thing at once. I might not be explaining it well because I don't explain many things well, but I just come across some comics journals
Mm-hmm.
in the closet, and I was flipping through one of them, and there was an article by Gary Groth, the guy who does the comics journal, who seems like kind of a dick, but he was talking a lot about Carol Kalish. She had just passed away, and a lot of the industry was mourning her, as they should have.
Mm-hmm.
But Groth was being a dick and talking a lot of spoo in Carol Kalish's direction. And I'm like, wow, this is kind of weird. But then having read a lot of what Gary Groth says, it's like, well, yeah, this is kind of what he does.
Okay.
And then as this was like just 2 or 3 days ago, then I find this book and I'm reading in it, and there's all this stuff about Carol Kalish's passing because she was a huge influence on Peter David. She hired him into Marvel's sales department and kind of affected his trajectory into writing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I read an article that was a response to Gary Groth's piece in the Comics Journal, and it's like, what are the odds of just pulling a random magazine off the rack in my closet, reading this article by Groth, then finding this random book in a record store, opening it up, and there's this response to Groth's diatribe.
Mm.
Very weird stuff. Very weird
Quite
stuff.
the coinky
I'm sure
dink.
there's a name for it. maybe, yeah, coincidence probably is as far as it goes, but it feels like there would be
Mm-hmm.
like a Sturgeon's law of
Kismet,
whatever the hell,
fate,
you know.
destiny,
There you go.
meant to be. Yeah.
Yeah, very,
Hey,
very
that's a
weird.
cool find though, and like you said, everything parted, and you
Yeah,
just kind of like floated your way straight to the book. You
yeah,
know.
and like the whole time I'm walking towards it, I'm like, that can't be the But I Digress I'm thinking
Mm-hmm.
about. And then like, because his name is in very small print, and it's like you can hardly even read it because it's like in red print. So like, it took me a while to even like get close enough to read it because my eyes suck. And it's like, oh, okay, Peter
Yeah.
David. How about
Yeah.
that?
Well, there you go. Yep.
Yeah.
And you dug right in. So that's some cool ephemera you found this
Mhm.
week for sure.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know.
yeah. It's just it sucks that it bummed me out so much reading it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know,
The
man.
thing with these new glasses,
Yeah.
since I can actually read now, I can't see far.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to like wear a different pair of glasses when I'm driving until my new ones come
Right.
in, which they warned me might rob my close vision.
Okay.
So it's like I'm just screwed either way. So I've been doing a lot of reading while I still can,
Mm-hmm.
and that's been bumming me out because that's like it's just a constant reminder, when you whatever the hell, intertwine your life with a hobby and your aspirations into a hobby. It's like I don't have to write comics. I just want to write.
Mm-hmm.
You know, reading a whole bunch of stuff that people did write is just such a reminder that I haven't done anything.
All right. Well, allow me to, I guess, play devil's advocate to this. But your
Hmm.
blog, when you're writing your blog, your main thing was
Hmm.
okay. The problem with that writing is I'm writing about something someone else wrote,
Yeah.
but really, in this day and age, there's not much originality left. So everybody's influenced by something, as David Bowie once said. Like everything is just a little bit of sawdust and Scotch tape
Hmm.
put together, which is a quote I love. I think he might have even stole it from a mime, but let's not get into mime quotes.
No, never.
But still, it's,
Mimes can't talk
I
anyway.
understand, yes, they're just trapped in the box, but it's still
Mm.
a form of expression. And that you
Sure.
basically devaluing what you did contribute for such a long time, to me, seems, well, of course, we're all self deprecating and we all are our own worst critics, but you're not
Sure.
giving value or justice to what you did in fact contribute and put out into the world.
I don't know. I don't know. I feel like that broke me.
Mm.
Like I forgot how to write right,
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a
and
habit.
everything
You got
became.
into a formed habit of
Yeah,
doing things a certain way. You know what I mean?
it's true. It's true.
It's even the same with this live stream where your
Hmm.
podcasting experience, for the large part, other than when you and Reggie did comics talk, was scripted. So I'm
Yeah,
glad you're willing to jump into my format pretty much, where I'm just willy nilly all over the place, running around with a beaver up my butt, quite literally.
it's true. There's old
No one
Bucky.
expected to see that today. But
No,
anyway, you
no.
get my point. You know what I mean? We're just kind of
Hmm.
improv riffing here, as I call our live streaming
Sure.
jamming. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So you, you do deviate from now and then from your traditional ways of doing things. So again, I hate to say it, who knows? But maybe you just got to
It's
force
true.
yourself into something. You know what I mean? Give yourself a
It's
swirly.
true. Need to dunk my
There you
head.
go, man. You got to do it to yourself in some fashion to
It's
if you,
true.
especially if you want to achieve these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It's
But of
true.
course, I'm trying to make the point that you should be satisfied, at least to some degree, with what you have accomplished, rather than erase those and make them meaningless.
Anybody could have done
Well, I don't know, man. You got a certain flair and humor to you that I particularly appreciate. So,
that. I appreciate
well,
that.
there's a whole lot of appreciation going around, except for you to you. You know what I mean?
It's true. It is true. It is true.
So, that being said, but I
Hmm.
digress.
There you go.
Shell, do you want to move on to some audience participation? Because I know we got an email
Sure.
from our True Blue, like Death and Taxes, this guy, Chris
Hmm.
Yu.
Don't say that too loud. Just talking about, but I
I know.
digress.
Jesus Christ. I completely forgot about that. I know. Like, if you're in a restaurant, someone should never scream fire. You know what I mean? You don't want to create a panic, but when you're around Peter David,
Sure.
do not yell IRS, whatever you do. That son of a bitch will run you down faster than George from the Seinfeld episode, knocking over,
With the
yeah,
fire.
old ladies and clowns. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, let's get into some Bada babble. Why don't you tell
Sure.
me what Chris you wrote? And I actually have some Instagram comments. By the way, more
Oh,
people should
neat.
follow on Instagram. I don't know what's going on here. You guys don't dig the socials or just don't dig me. But whatever the case may be, do
Mm,
that. Come on now. But anyway,
do
let's
that.
go with the email first. Let's rock and roll.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Chris Yu, he says, hello,
Yeah.
badabinshow. Glad to have you back on the air. The supersized episode certainly made up for not having an episode last week. I caught about 10 minutes live on my break at work and couldn't wait to watch. I watched the whole thing when I got home. So without further ado, let me get to my Bada Babble. Let me start where you finished. That comic book implosion book by Tomorrows is incredible. I bought the first printing when it came out and I loved every page of it. When I saw that they were releasing an expanded edition, I couldn't resist ordering that one too. I haven't checked to see what is different between the two of them just yet, but I'm enjoying reading it again. I'm fascinated by the behind the scenes stories of the comics industry. If you enjoy this kind of stuff too, I highly recommend the book Slugfest Inside the Epic 50-Year Battle Between Marvel and DC by Reed Tucker. It gives an entertaining look at the behind the scenes shenanigans going down from the Golden Age till today. Marvel Comics The Untold Story by Sean Howe is a good read too. And I have read the second book there. I have read The Untold Story by Howe. And I actually had a few words with Sean Howe on Twitter ages ago. Ages ago. Um, seemed I think he might have listened to something that me and Reggie did, and he reached out. But that was cool hearing from him because we cited his book a
Oh, right
bunch.
on.
It's a great book,
Great.
a lot of good
Mm-hmm.
stuff there. Um, I haven't read Slugfest. I think I've seen it at used bookstores. I haven't grabbed it though.
Okay.
Um, now the Implosion book, I haven't read it. Have you read all of it
No,
yet?
I'm only like 50 something pages. And I think I've maybe
Okay,
read 5 pages in the last week since I brought it up. And not because it's not
gotcha.
good, but I'm
Hmm.
working and I get home. I'm so tired. My eyes start to fail. And one eyeball
Crossing,
goes one
yeah.
way, the other eyeball goes another way. And I'm like laying in bed going, I want to get through
Yeah,
it.
and then the headache kicks in, and yeah,
Holy
I don't
moly.
know if there's any, because another comics journal I was looking at
Mm-hmm.
not too long ago had a chart about the implosion, and it showed that like Marvel canceled more books than DC during that time span.
Uh,
And I wonder if that gets any press in the book.
well, let me tell you about press.
Hmm.
In the late 70s, the
Mhm.
PR guy for DC, I believe his name was
Mhm.
Mike Gold. And I got the
Okay.
book over here. I could probably reach him, maybe get it. But then,
And Mike Gold was an editor
yeah,
later
but
on, right?
man, did he love himself some DC comics. Oh my God. Like all
Hmm.
the stuff, he was a hype man like nobody's business, to the point where I'm actually reading some of his quotes that he put out in the like comic press. And
Sure.
I'm like, this guy, he's killing me here. He's really killing me
Welcome
here.
back, Cotter #5 is a
Dude,
world
no,
breaker.
no joke. Like legitimately hyping everything up to no end, or even just like dissing Marvel. To some things were warranted and true, I guess. I mean, where he would bring up, we can take bigger chances, we can do more
Sure.
because we're owned by a conglomerate, Time Warner, while Marvel is owned by
Mhm.
this little rinky-dink company, and da 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 da, and we can
Yeah.
do this.
They own parking
There
lots.
you
Yeah.
go, man. But he was just like anything DC, and some of it was just completely BS. But I'm like, geez,
Sure.
Mike Gold, man, save some oxygen for the future. Like, seriously, you know what I mean? And I think last episode I mentioned one of the things I appreciated most, that I liked reading about, was like the whole war for retail space.
Shelf
Yeah,
space.
shelf
Yeah.
space, where it's like we get to publish, and a lot of people know, and maybe you've read other books like Comic Book Nation and maybe some of the books that Chris you brought up is discussed, but how DC basically controlled Marvel's publishing and distribution.
Oh, in the
And
60s?
yeah, you know what I mean. So they
Yeah. That's why they had the two and
yeah
ones.
they put
Yeah.
like a chokehold on
They
the
could only have X
distribution.
amount of
Yeah,
books.
so
Yeah.
when Marvel was free of that, they were like, let's go buck wild. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And all that
Absolutely.
stuff, as Chris you just mentioned, is terribly, terribly interesting. You know what I mean? Because
Hmm. Oh, yeah.
us as readers, sometimes we don't know. And now, of course, with social media and stuff, there's more things out there in
Oh,
public.
everything's
Yeah,
accessible
you're not
now.
waiting
Yeah,
to receive a magazine to tell you about something that might have happened behind the
sure.
scenes a couple months prior.
6 months
Yeah,
ago.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Or Wizard or something. But yeah, all that
sure.
stuff really is. And if you dig that kind of stuff, you should totally read Comic Book Implosion and probably these
Mm,
recommendations that Chris Yu has as well. So yeah.
absolutely. Now, back to Chris Yu.
Mm-hmm.
He says, Dave's new filing cabinets got me thinking. Wouldn't it be great if someone could design and build filing cabinets with drawers the dimensions of a comic box? Drawers that are narrower and taller than the standard filing cabinet drawers. They can be made fireproof to protect the most valuable parts of your collection. It's $1 million idea. All I got to do is find someone with $1 million that wants to
Yeah,
invest.
it's not bad. I remember.
No, I'm surprised that it hasn't something hasn't been made. I think it would be a very niche and boutique
Mm-hmm.
audience for it,
True,
but definitely something that could
but when
work.
I told you about these, you had mentioned to me, hey, why don't you can you just put your short box in the actual drawer itself?
Yeah,
I can't. I actually thought
yeah,
about
it's
it.
not tall enough.
Right,
Yeah,
it's not tall enough, and I mentioned last episode how I kind of have to put the comics on the side rather than standing straight up.
sure.
But I've been to shops, and this is where I got the idea, where they are standing right straight up, like two side by side. So there are already file cabinets in existence that would
Hmm.
fit needs better than what I currently have.
Oh yeah,
But Chris, you isn't wrong. Like that would be
yeah,
awesome. But again, not only is it $1 million idea that he doesn't have $1 million to establish, I don't have the money to spend on those. You know what
sure,
I mean?
sure.
I got these for free.
Yeah, yeah. One of the comic shops I go to has their own sort of filing drawers
Mm-hmm.
where it's like you could fit 3 rows of comics, standing
Yeah.
up next to each other, and they pull out, the drawers pull out, they pull out one at a time so they don't topple over, so there's like a locking
Right.
mechanism on them, so like if you want to get into the bottom drawer you gotta like push every other drawer in, so it's kind of, I'm sure they get abused like
Mm-hmm.
crazy by kids yanking on them or whatever, but I think that's a pretty cool idea. I don't know that I'd ever have the room for it. That feels like a huge sort of more permanent investment of space. We talk about Marvel and DC fighting over
Yeah.
shelf space. It's only so much wall space we got at the house, so it's
Yeah.
that'd be a toughie. That'd be a toughie, but I'd love the look of it.
Hey
I
man,
think that'd be
if I
really
was
cool.
you, I'd do it because you get that garage kicking with all your stuff that's about to be
Mm,
climate controlled.
yep,
I'd do it.
yep.
I would. I'd go file cabinet all the way. Plus, I don't know if it's your forever home, but you're a homeowner. I'm a renter.
Yeah,
I'm a lowly,
sure.
no good, dirty renter. So, I mean, eventually, and this will be discussed when I bring up the reply on Instagram about this, so we can
Hmm.
dive into this a little bit more later.
Cool.
But yes, please
Very cool.
continue.
Yes.
Continue.
Back to
Mm-hmm.
Chris. He says, "Now that I've got my thinking cap on, Chris's need to remodel space in his house to store his collection got me thinking about the
Here we
weight
go.
of a comic
Yeah.
collection. My collection used to sit on the first floor of my house in what would have been my dining room. I once had a contractor come through the house to tell me that I should move my comics because it was too much weight in one place. I thought it can't weigh that much, right? And I don't know if Chris had a
He
basement.
must have. It must be an
I know
East Coast
Chris,
thing. Yeah.
yeah, I know he's in
Oh, there you
Pennsylvania,
go.
so I'm
Yep.
thinking maybe he had a basement. So yeah, that's a lot of weight. He says, according to the interwebs, a comic long box containing roughly 300 comics with boards and bags weighs about 60
Hmm.
pounds. That means roughly 33 long boxes fully loaded would weigh roughly 1 ton. When I sold my collection back in 2009, I had 85 long boxes weighing in at just over 2.5 tons. It doesn't sound possible that these little paper magazines could add up to that much weight, but I did the math, and math don't
Mm-hmm.
lie. Comics collecting is a heavy hobby. So yeah, it's a lot of weight.
It really is.
I mean, what does a car weigh?
I don't
I
know.
don't know what a car weighs. I'd imagine a ton or two.
Yeah.
So you have like a car upstairs in your corner bedroom. That's scary,
Well,
and I'm glad they're not there anymore.
since we can't really, you know, associate weight with real world items and things,
Mm,
so it's all just like monopoly money to us right now. Let's
sure.
discuss the real important thing or the issue on the table here, which is the table itself.
Hmm.
He did not believe in dining to the point where he turned his dining room into
It's
the
true.
spot for his comics. And here's the other thing too: he didn't hide them away. They're not in closets somewhere. They're not in little nooks or anywhere else with
Yeah.
He
Not in a crawl space.
welcome
Yeah.
on into the U household. Welcome on in. Oh yes. These aren't family pictures. No, this isn't heirlooms. These are my comics. Right when you open the front door,
Mm-hmm.
you know. God bless you. Really, that's great.
That's a fact.
That's a
That's the
dream.
life
It
right there.
really
Yeah.
is, isn't it? I was gonna say
Mm-hmm.
that's fantastic. Like no one to judge you, or
Yeah.
maybe he was judged, but still, you don't give a damn. You know
No,
what I
it's
mean?
back before we left the other house. We had our old house had two dining
Uh
rooms.
huh.
We had a casual dining room and a formal dining room.
Oh,
Never used the formal
did you
one.
have a bell to ring too when you wanted your soup or what?
When Lurch would come, yeah,
Mr.
yeah, we
Belvedere?
had Lurch.
Yeah.
Yeah, with
Yeah.
Wesley. Um, and before we were getting ready to
Uh
leave,
huh.
I considered turning the formal dining room into where I put my
Mm-hmm.
comics, because I had like a 11, 12 foot ceilings, so it's like, okay, I could fit racks in
Yeah.
here, and I can basically do what I have in my garage now, but in the formal dining
Sure.
room. Never came to pass, but Chris's mention of doing it, having his collection in the dining room, got me to remember that. Back to Chris. Said, I enjoyed seeing Dave's unboxing of his comic shipment. Actually, seeing the physical comics you buy and collect adds to the conversation. This is video, so show me what you found in the bins this week. I want to
Mm.
see it. Even if they're dinged up 25-cent box books. Something moved you to buy it, and I want to hear your stories as to why. And I like
I
that.
do too.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Right. And just for the record, that Jeff Johns Justice Society series is going to read awesome once it gets collected into trade after the 12th issue comes out in late 2025.
Couple.
At this rate,
Well, I have a couple notes.
okay.
One, this is how the sausage is made, behind the
Mm-hmm.
scenes stuff here, so you're welcome in advance, audience. Chris has actually pondered a segment about hunting and bin diving that we might pursue
Mm-hmm.
in the future, which I think is great, and hopefully we do that because obviously Chris, you has a point here. Like showing off our finds is a lot of fun. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not like the old saying, if you had made back in the day, this is also dating ourselves, like anybody would play someone a mixed CD or mixtape, like these are my favorite songs. No one wanted to hear those.
Mm-hmm.
We all have our own favorite songs, buddy. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But with collecting, it's a little bit different. Like you pick these out for a particular reason, but we understand the
Sure.
passion, we understand the love behind it, and
Oh
so we
yeah.
want to understand the logic behind it as well. You know what I mean? So I'm totally
Mm-hmm.
down for that. What was the second thing we were talking about? Because I just lost my way.
JSA.
JSA. Thank you. During my, and I don't want to bring up the word speculator again because that's when we had our
Mm-hmm.
whole technical difficulty thing. So I think Big Brother is listening and shutting us down.
They're on to us.
But
Yeah.
when I was, in fact, searching the web for, various information on the topic, I came across a review. I don't read comic reviews online, but I clicked
Yeah.
on it anyway because it was the latest
Okay.
JSA issue. And to my
Mm-hmm.
surprise, and you might be shocked by this too, I even took a screenshot of it. They gave the issue a
Mm-hmm.
6 and called
What?
it average. It
Wow.
and it wasn't like
Did the,
Uncle
did
Tony's
this person get
comic reviews.
did this person get canceled?
No,
Did this
it
person
was AI.
was it a
I
death
don't know how you
threat?
say it, but it was AIPT was the name of the site. So I don't know
Uh,
if it's an acronym for something. I have no idea. I don't read it. But it came up
yeah.
AIPT JSA 10 or whatever review, and I'm like, what the hell? I just
Sure.
got it. I haven't read it yet. I'm like, what? Not a 10 out of 10? Not a
Insane.
20 out of 10?
That's a
What?
death threat.
This is crazy. What's happening here?
Jeff Johns is gonna have to get
This is
bodyguards.
insane. I couldn't believe it. It was a
Yeah.
6 out of 10, and it said this issue is
Wow.
average. And yet again, I was expecting like Jimmy John's comic reviews of whatever.
Yeah. Otto's American cheese singles and comic review
There
site.
you go. Right.
Yeah.
But apparently, this is a major website. So define
about
major
that.
nowadays, but still, they're
True, true. But hey, good
legitimized.
on them for their honesty. Good on them for
Yeah.
being honest.
I'll send you the screenshot. We can frame
Yeah.
it, hang it up in the toilet.
Yeah. It's the only one we're ever gonna get.
I
So
know,
yeah,
right?
probably.
There you go.
Back to
Yes,
Chris Hugh.
please.
I'm a diehard fan of the pre-crisis Earth 2 JSA,
Mm.
so I'm a sucker for something trying to recapture that era. I read it for nostalgia's sake, so I'm sure that the appearance of the Legion of Superheroes in that Justice Society issue isn't going to get you to read it any sooner. But strange thing, it was the Legion from the Lightning Saga, pre-Flashpoint, and not the Bendis Legion, which was the Legion published post New 52. That's a lot of Legion talk. I know the Lightning Saga, that was a Jeff Johns thing, right?
I don't know.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I
I
glossed
want to
over when you
say
started talking Legion.
it crossed over between the Justice League and the Justice Society book before Flashpoint. It
Okay.
might have been,
I'm not aware of it, so I'm not, I couldn't speak of it.
I think it was like just after Infinite Crisis. So I could be
Okay.
wrong. I don't think it was. I think it was right after Infinite Crisis because that's when they relaunched JSA with like both of them actually. JLA with I think like Brad Meltzer did like the first arc had to do with like the Red Tornado, and then the JSA with I think it was Johns and
Okay.
Eaglesham, however you say that. But I want to say the Lightning Saga was early in those runs, which is weird that they wouldn't use the Bendis Legion. You know, the Bendis Legion is the one that I we talk about continuity not being a thing
Mm.
anymore. I don't even know what's what. Um, I know like Johns did like a Legion of Three Worlds during Final Crisis, which I think had like multiple for. It's insanity.
Well,
I don't know.
I
So
can tell you this is that when Bendis was
hmm,
doing Legion, John Kent was involved, and you know me, I like
yeah,
John Kent, but I could not get
sure,
into that. I was out. And
yeah,
so even when I go back now and I'm like, well, let me look at some of the John Kent material I missed from the past. I might cherry pick
hmm,
because listen, here's another thing, and I'm going to be perfectly honest here. When it comes to Superman material, I skipped the Bendis run entirely, action and
yeah.
regular title.
That's wise.
Well, thank
Yeah,
you. But going back,
yeah.
I did cherry pick a couple issues that had John Kent in them, and I acquired them and I
Okay.
have them just because I'm trying to be the best I can within reason, more of a completist with John
Completionist.
Kent, right?
Yeah.
Because I like the character so much. Um, the reason why I'm saying I'm being honest and I'm trying to kind of unburden my soul here a little bit. I'm surrounded by Superman stuff. I'm wearing Superman shirts all the time. I got Superman everything. I
Hmm.
love myself some Superman, but that Bendis stuff,
Hmm.
from what I've read, bored me to death.
Trash.
The Rogol
Hmm.
Czar stuff was just atrocious.
Hmm.
And yet again,
And then
here
doing the secret identity garbage. Yeah.
we're going into that fine line where, and this is something we've discussed in the past, so feel free to look at our old live streams. When does collecting become like this obsessive? You got to have everything from this character. You never stop. Posters, keychains,
Sure.
issues, everything you can get, anything you acquire, tattoos, whatever. You know what I mean? To enough is
Hmm.
enough. This just isn't good. I can't support it with my money, no matter how much I love this fictional character. And with
Sure.
Superman, man, I can read some really cheesy, bad stuff that maybe came out in the '60s, or some of the stuff that Carrie Bates did, which honestly, much love to Carrie
Sure.
Bates, isn't very fun to read now. Um,
Well, I mean, Carrie Bates was writing like
I,
700 Superman books a
I
month.
get it. You know what I
So
mean? And
yeah,
and
yeah.
I understand. It's the same thing with like Kurt Swan. Much respect for Kurt
Kurt Swan
Swan.
drawing
Right.
7,000
You know what I mean? But
Superman books a
I
month.
can
Yeah.
I can get a little Kurt Swan fatigue. But when it comes to the
Sure.
Bendis stuff, man, I really just did not care for it. So I'm just like,
Oh, it was
no,
bad.
no. It's like someone could hand
Yeah.
me a fat stack and be like, well, here's Bendis's Man of Steel, here's Bendis's whatever, and I think I own Man of Steel, as a matter of fact, his redo on it.
His intro.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
and I'd probably be like, okay,
Wasn't great.
thank you. I'll take it. I'm gonna put it right here. I'm gonna leave it right here. Okay, I'll file it away eventually because it's just not good.
Mm-mm. No, it was not.
So
It really
I know
wasn't.
someone's like, "You're a fake man. Take off that Superman shirt. Get rid of all those figures. Burn your collection. You're a fraud."
I don't know that I've ever. I don't know that I've ever heard a good thing about the Bendis run.
Mm.
I'm sure there. I'm sure there are many, many 10 out of 10 reviews out there.
Yeah,
But
yeah, this is true.
but
Right?
in like discourse,
Yeah.
nobody's like, oh man, you got to check that out.
Mm.
That was classic Superman.
Yeah. Right.
That's these are seminal stories that are going to take the character into the next into the next millennium. It's like no, I don't hear any of that.
Well, in a
I
lot
don't
of
hear any of
ways,
that.
like writing comics and stuff is similar to maybe cinema, wherein let's say you wrote a really good indie film, or you made an independent film and it's got some hype and whatever. Eventually, you're going to make it to the big leagues. They think you're a hot commodity. They want to put you in that.
Sure.
With Bendis, it was like that. You know, he was a small time.
Oh, I did Jinx, Goldfish,
Yeah, and then
Torso,
eventually
Salmon
Powers was the
Twitch.
one that really
Mm-hmm.
blew it out of the water. And they just thought, well,
Yeah.
this guy, he can write our biggest, you know, characters, our landmark stuff here. And I know he was at Marvel. He
Sure.
did Avengers. I mean, he's been all over the
Yeah, he
place.
did Ultimate, yeah,
Oh,
Ultimate
thank you. There
Spider-Man,
we go. Yeah, Ultimate
Avengers,
Spider-Man. Mm-hmm.
Daredevil. He had a run with the
Yeah.
X-Men, which was awful. Yeah, he launched like 3 or 4 attempts at a Spider-Woman comic that never took
Mm-hmm.
off.
I was gonna say I
Alias.
can't really think of much Bendis that I'm a big fan of. This stuff
Ultimate Spider-Man was really good.
really I didn't go in on that.
Early on.
His Daredevil was okay. I didn't mind his
That
Daredevil,
was
but
okay.
again, I'm anytime I bring up Bendis, it's either yeah, it's okay, or no, not for me.
Yeah,
You know what I
it's
mean?
true. It's true.
Yeah.
It is true. Yeah, talking about the Ultimate stuff, we
Mm-hmm.
were hinting at the Absolute
Mm-hmm.
comics earlier, which seems I know very little about it. I know less than you. I haven't really read much
Yeah.
about it other than
Stuff
the
I harass you with.
assertion. Yeah, the assertion that it's going to be like a take on the Ultimate
Right.
Marvel's Ultimate
Mm-hmm.
line. And when you sent me that message, I wrote you back and I said, "Why?" with like 17 letter Y's
Mm-hmm.
after. It's like, why do we need
Right.
this? Why do we need the Ultimate Universe, warts and all? Was it happened at exactly the right time for Marvel? Now that happened after Bob Harris was removed,
Mm-hmm.
and I think a lot of it was a reaction to Bob Harris being removed because he was the X Men group editor. And then he took over for DeFalco as the main editor in chief, and he was there throughout the entire boom. And I think it was Mark Waid who posited that he was removed. He was there were a lot of reasons to remove Harris, but like the straw that broke the camel's back was when the X Men movie came out, and Marvel got this. This is going to really make us sound old, but
Everything does.
Marvel was given the opportunity to get the cover of TV Guide,
Mm-hmm.
which sounds silly now, but it was huge back then. I mean, TV Guide was either the number one or number two highest circulated periodical. It was either them or Reader's Digest. So TV Guide was huge, and you didn't have to be a comic book fan to buy it. So, every week you'd go through the supermarket checkout stand, you'd pick up your little TV Guide digest, and you'd know what was on TV, or you'd have a subscription. Maybe you'd have a collection like that weirdo on Seinfeld. But they had the X-Men one, and it included a short story written by Chris Claremont, which made 0 sense. It was so up its own ass that even longtime readers of the X-Men didn't get it.
Right.
And this was an opportunity to reach a wide audience who might have seen the movie, because we didn't know yet that people who see comic movies are not going to go buy the comics.
Mm-hmm.
That was still up in the air, even though it shouldn't have been, because like, Blade was the number one movie, and like Marvel could have stapled $10 bills into the issue of Blade and nobody would have bought it. So I mean, it should have been obvious, but it wasn't. But they saw this as an opportunity in this TV Guide to widen the readership, and they biffed it. So Harris was removed, Claremont was removed. They changed everything up. In come Jemison Casada, and here come these weird ground floor level books, Ultimate Spider-Man and Ultimate X-Men. So they came at the perfect time. They weren't the perfect books, but they came at the right time. Now with the absolute stuff, why? Why? There's a multiverse. You can get on the ground floor of how many different Batmans right now? I mean, they just brought back Elseworlds, for Christ's sake. Is that needed? There are how many ongoing Batman books that don't take place in the main DC universe right now? And we really need another one. We really need to see the pearls shatter and, fall across Crime Alley again. It's just, I just, and I know nothing about this. This is all, whatever that word is, postulizing, whatever it is, guessing, speculating in the other way.
Yes.
And
Be
it's,
careful with that one, Chris. Please.
Yes, yes. I'm speculating. I'm not speculating. I'm speculating, and I worry that they're going to turn the same way as the Ultimate Universe, where you know the Ultimate Universe started by retelling origins, putting a twist on them, making them a little bit more modern, making them a little bit more accessible to new readers, making them a little bit more soap operatic. Where it wasn't just like 8 pages for Spider-Man's origin. Instead, it was 8 issues for Spider-Man's origin. It was Bendis writing it. He had a knack for that sort of style, so it worked. But then you ever remember you remember No Huddle on the NFL Network?
Yeah, sure. Why?
Well, No Huddle was like the only way I could watch football.
Really?
Yeah, because it was just the plays.
Mm-hmm.
It was just it would be on like what, like Tuesday, like after the weekend. It would be like No Huddle in the afternoon after work. I'd watch 2 or 3 games that would take like an hour each to
Yeah,
watch
sure.
because there was no breaks in the action. It was just the action. The Ultimate Line became that. It became Marvel's No Huddle because it would just go from big event to big event to big event to big event. Every arc was like a story. You take Spider-Man's 40 some odd year history and you take these events only. So you don't have like the random issue of Spider-Man fighting the Spot. You don't have this random issue of like Harry Osborn doing something silly. You just have the events. So every Marvel Ultimates story arc was one of these events. So it's like, oh, we have to jump right to Venom. We have to jump right to a Clone Saga.
Mm-hmm.
It was just all the intermediate stuff was gone,
Okay.
and I'm worried that that's what these Absolute books are going to be. It's like, within a year, are we going to have Ultimate Nightfall? Are we going to have Ultimate Death, Absolute Nightfall, Absolute Death of Superman, Absolute Reign of the Superman, Absolute, Death in the
Yeah,
Family,
well,
Absolute Lonely Place of
the
Dying?
answer to your
It's
question
just
is
going to be
yes. It
right.
is yes. You don't need to
and
ponder anymore. So,
But then that goes back to my first question.
mm-hmm.
Why?
Because the fans demanded it.
Why?
One fan in
Scott Snyder.
just because I like to say it in Sheboygan was like
One fan in
was like,
Sheboygan.
hey, you know what? We need a different take on Batman where he's bulkier and he doesn't have a cape. Okay. But here's the best part: his bat insignia isn't an insignia at all. It's just a
It's
chest
just a
plate.
blob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But listen, man, I feel
Uh,
like there's room for everything. We all know that, right? But
of
it was
course.
much like, and to kind of harken back to Comic Book Implosion, when they would say, because you demanded it, here's a new logo
Mm-hmm.
for Swamp Thing. Nobody demanded a new logo for Swamp Thing. Just they created a new logo for Swamp Thing. Someone thought it was cool and they
Mm-hmm.
wanted to use it. Here, it's an ego
Yep.
play. Scott Snyder wants to create his own universe. What the hell? He's Scott Snyder. Let him create his own universe,
Sure.
and that's all fine and dandy.
Otherwise, he's going to take it to
Hey,
Image.
man, whatever. Yet again, there's room for everything. And as you had just brought up, we already have Elseworlds back. We have multiverse
Yeah.
everything. So therefore,
Mm-hmm.
the world's your oyster if you
It's
dig that kind of stuff. I
yeah.
get it. You know what I
It's
mean?
just.
Um, and actually, I didn't get in on the Ultimate line when it came out. That was one of my one
Mm-hmm.
things, and I don't know if I brought this up in the past, where I saw it on the shelf and I'm like, it's a flash in the pan. That's nothing. Boy, was I ever wrong. Um,
Yeah. I was there from jump with that,
okay.
and it was a very exciting time. I mean, the Gemis Casada era when it kicked off was a
But
blast.
as you mentioned, it was a good time for it, right? It's
It was needed at the
there you
time.
go. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Is this needed
Because it
now?
was either
No.
no, it was either you had Ultimate Spider-Man or John Byrne's Spider-Man Chapter One.
Mm-hmm. Oy. Ooh.
Yeah, no, 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 not
Yeah.
good.
I'm
So
making
the Ultimates won
noises.
that one.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, yeah.
I
Oh, we still have an email we have to finish
yeah,
up
we
here,
still got
don't we?
more Bada babble to get through. I just
We do, we
I want
do. I just tangented.
but
Go
let me
ahead,
tangent before you get back to
please
the
do.
nitty gritty here. Is I kind of feel bad because when I bring up writers and artists, it feels like a lot of times maybe our audience will think, geez, Dave just craps on everybody. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Because when I brought up Bendis and Superman, I don't buy it. Ram V on Swamp Thing. It started good, didn't end so well. You know what I mean? But there are plenty of
Sure,
creators out there who I think are fantastic. It's just I gotta say how I feel. You know what I mean?
of
When it
course.
comes
I mean,
up. So,
we don't. When you're a fan of
mm-hmm.
someone, and I mean, you don't have to love everything they
No, this is
do.
true. Very true.
I mean, we can see it with sports teams. We could see it with politics. We can see it with all these things. You don't have to agree
Mm-hmm.
with people or love somebody's work 100%.
Right.
I mean, I haven't read any Ramby. I have a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
I've never read any of it, so I can't really speak to it. Scott Snyder, I really enjoyed his work. I haven't read much of it
Yeah,
lately,
right,
but I
right, right.
really enjoyed what I did read it. I probably, as for as much stuff as I'd say about Bendis, I probably own 95% of what he's put
Yeah.
out professionally. I mean, it's just there was a fan in me there at some point. I'm sure,
Yeah.
I'm sure I still appreciate a lot of what he did. It's just that, I mean, we tend to the negative kind of just sticks out.
Mm. It really does. Because
Nope.
I was gonna say I could go on and on about how much I love Jeff Johns or whatever, and there we
Yeah,
go.
I think we said, Jeff Johns is like the premier superhero writer of this
Yeah, I'm a
century.
big Mark Russell fan. I love Mark
Hmm.
Russell's books. I try to buy everything he puts out, but even then,
Hmm.
as much as I could go to the
It's not
mountaintop and
perfect.
yell, he's had some
Yeah,
stinkers. You know what I mean? But when
sure,
he hits, he
sure.
hits. You know?
And I heard Jeff Johns actually just put a book out that only got a 6 out of 10.
Oh, this is true.
So, I mean,
There you go, baby.
what can
All
you
right,
do?
back to the
What can
email.
you
Come
do?
on now.
Yeah, we only have one more line left here, but it is a
Okay.
question. It says, we all have our favorite writers and favorite artists that we follow, which kind of talks about what we were just
Look at
talking
that.
about. My question for you is, do you happen to have a favorite editor?
Oh. Um,
And why is it Bobby
I was gonna
Chase?
say, you know what? Probably because of my Hulk era,
Yep.
Bobby Chase. There you go. Bobby Chase was the Peter David's editor
Hmm.
on the Hulk. It's so funny you said that. Why did you say that?
I just know.
Okay. Well, you were saying it just for me, or in general for yourself as well, or what?
Just for
Oh,
you.
oh,
Just for you.
dude, that's weird.
Yeah. Isn't it?
That is crazy. So there
Isn't
you
it?
go. Who's your favorite editor? And I'm not. I can't name.
I
Yeah,
have
there you
no
go.
idea.
I don't know either.
Whoever edited Youngblood #1
Okay.
back in the day. I think it was Rob Liefeld's wife.
Yeah.
That's my favorite editor.
There you go. It was his
No,
Levi buttonfly jeans.
now I editors is that's a pretty thankless
Mm.
job. Especially nowadays because they don't seem to do much editing or proofreading. Maybe that was always an issue and we're just noticing it now. But I mean, growing up, I was a huge X-Men fan, and Bob Harris was the editor, and Bob Harris was not great. um, he uh, he drove a lot of people away. A lot of people said he wrote the books from over the writer's shoulder,
Mm-hmm.
which led to a lot of not so great stuff. Um, I mean, would we have to go back to Stan Lee simply because he's Stan Lee?
Well, I mean, if you start thinking about editors that people or creatives in particular give a lot of props and credence to, what about like a Karen
Hmm.
Berger or
Oh, for Vertigo,
you know,
sure.
because her name in particular, I mean, I still will read things from writers just being like she was the
Hmm.
absolute best, and
Oh
I
yeah,
think she's got her own line of books now. As a matter of fact, I know she had like an imprint or
wouldn't
something.
surprise me.
Um,
Yeah,
so there's a legacy for you right there. Not
sure.
only did the people you work with still praise you to this day, you have
Yeah,
your own line of books. So I mean, she's very, very important.
of
But
course,
again,
of
how would you
course.
define a great editor? So you want the continuity
Hmm.
streamlined, you want things to tie into the rest of the universe, you want
Yeah, you
grammatical.
want the word balloons
There
pointed
you
to the
go,
right people.
grammatical things
Yeah,
being correct. Yeah, so that's a tough call, but that's a great question.
it
And it's
is.
it's so funny to me because you could have asked. It's almost like saying who's your favorite bass player in a band because you could have went artist, writer, inker, letterer, da, da, da. But you went to
Hmm.
like who's your favorite management group of that band you like?
Who's your favorite best
Yeah,
grip?
who's the
Yeah.
roadie that you think just really
Hmm.
suited that band the best on their tour in 1975? Or that's really that's something,
Best switchboard operator.
right? Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. But there you go. So
yeah. And Chris closes out his email with "Long live the Legion."
okay, all right, okay, all right. So
If only DC knew that. I mean, they seem to put the Legion back in the corner more than anybody, right? They're the only people that can publish a Legion book, and they refuse
you
to,
never put Legion in the corner.
except when you
All
do,
right. Yeah, there you go.
all the time.
So to close out, Bada Babble.
IG.
Well, there you go. Yes, IG, and I do want to thank Chris you for yet another email that
Oh,
provided very
absolutely.
much a lot of tangents, discussion. I
Hmm.
mean, looking
Hmm.
at the time,
That's our
we've
language.
been on this email for quite a long time, so
That's our love language.
it's
Tangents.
food. Regal fan on Instagram,
Ah, Jody.
Jody Yurden, was actually writing because I posted a thing about these here file cabinets. It's the gift that keeps on
Hmm.
giving, right here,
Hmm. Hmm.
and I'm glad I own them. So this is truly a gift to me. He wrote, I'm a little late to the party on this, but as a beginning collector, my comics were exclusively in filing cabinets. I found them to be
Hmm.
easy to use, but cumbersome to move. My books acquired a lot of nicks and spine ticks, but I was also about 12, and most of my books weren't bagged or boarded. I hope you have better luck than I did. To which I replied a couple things, but interestingly enough, one thing that we did discuss last episode when we brought up the whole cabinet thing was I fear of the moving process.
Yes.
Um, I even said I'm going to take the books out when you were like, well, maybe you can tape it
Hmm.
shut and just, I don't want to even ponder the idea.
Tempt fate.
There, thank you,
Yeah.
tempt fate. And then when he talks about spine ticks and damages to his books being 12 and them not being bagged or boarded, the horror man. Why would you? I understand you're a kid. I used to do like similar things. You didn't protect things as much as you should,
Hmm.
but man, just putting them in there and letting them get all dinged up and damaged, damn you.
Growing up, only the special books got bagged and boarded.
Yeah, this is true. This is true, and hopefully I will have better
Because
luck.
that was like shorthand for like when somebody came when a relative would come over and be like, "Oh, you collect comics? Do you have the valuable one?"
Mm,
And it's like, "Yes, this one's bagged and
there
boarded."
we go. Right, this is
There you
keeping
go.
this one in its own little special sleeve.
Yeah, this is the newsstand edition of Death of Superman. It's worth $4.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah. Oh my goodness. But I do want to thank him for Jody
for
for
sure.
reaching out. Same thing with
For
Chris, you
engaging.
engaging with us. And as always,
Hmm.
if you have anything that you want to add or say, badabinshow at gmail.com,
Hit us up.
comments on Instagram. I actually recently discussed with you opening up a TikTok to share
Hmm.
videos, little snack-sized clips of our program.
So we have to learn how to dance
Yes,
and shake our butts. Yeah.
yes, and that's solely
Okay.
falling upon you. This is your responsibility.
I'm already taking the classes. It's
But
all right.
I do have my own private accounts, back issue Buddha, and I shared
Mhm.
some stuff from us on there because I was running into snafus trying to create our own TikTok. So
We can piggyback yours.
I was gonna say, if that's something people want to see, yet again, let me know. If there's some other social media platform you guys are like, why are you wasting your time with Instagram? It's not working for you. Join us over here. Let me know that. If you think I'm ugly, or if you're
Hmm.
trying to notice that Easter egg in my mustache, to which I did
Hmm.
successfully go the entire show without a full screen of my face, let us
There
know.
you go.
You know what I mean? So yeah. And now, Chris, we have covered quite a lot of stuff today. Holy
We
mackerel.
did.
Holy
The
catfish.
gamut's been
It
run.
has. I mean, I still have my copies of Absolute Power and Legends over here, which I think I'm going to dig back
Hmm.
into. It's been a while since I read Legends.
It's how annoying is it that Suicide Squad is on top of the Legends logo?
Oh, on this one, yeah, this is just
Yeah.
easier for me to pull out because I had it on my little
Oh,
spinner
I'm
rack
sure.
over here. But yeah,
But how annoying
it
is
says
that?
featuring the Suicide Squad's first appearance, 30th anniversary edition.
Mm.
Legends, though, and I guess because I don't know how much more we have to talk about, so let's close out the show with this. What do you say?
Okay.
Huge part of my childhood.
Hmm.
Because for me, being a little kid in the 80s, having like this as a jam piece of the entire DC universe getting together to fight threats, and um, it was just so cool. I was going to come up with a word
Hmm.
like monumental, inspiring, but it was just cool, man. It was awesome to see all these different heroes fighting together, and I mean, I just loved it so much, and I'm so glad that it's part of my life. So you know what? I might actually rip this thing open and read it.
There you go.
It's been a long,
I
long
think
time.
I've only read it once, and it was probably around 2010 or so.
Okay, did it
As
do
I
anything for you?
wasn't a DC guy. I mean, by then everything had been done already.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't as novel,
Okay.
but it was okay. I didn't dislike it.
Well, as a kid, I had a little brother and we shared a bedroom. And
Hmm.
little brothers annoy the older brothers as all do.
It's their
You're
job, yeah.
right. And I remember one time my brother like took a copy of Legends number 3. I don't know, he had a razor blade or something. He's like, whoosh, and he cut the cover like right in front of my face.
Oh,
And this is
geez.
the one time in my life I can remember specifically I had a reaction where it took no thought. I didn't even, my body just took control. Pow! Punched him right in the
Right
nose.
in the
No,
kisser.
right in the nose, and it exploded
Ooh,
like a tomato. Just blood spurted out everywhere. I thought I broke his nose. But
damn.
this is how much like that issue meant to me. Like I was like, this is Legends. I love Legends. And I was like older at the time, so it had the issue for years. But
Sure,
man, I
sure.
busted up his face. My mother was all pissed off at me. She's like, "What are you doing to your little brother here? Don't you could have broke his nose?" And I'm like, Ma, he cut my comic." You know. So that's a little Legends
Did you ever
tie-in.
replace it?
No, I have
No.
since bought another copy.
That's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
I
That's what
replace.
I'm
He
saying.
didn't replace it. No.
No, no, you. Yeah,
Yeah,
I wouldn't expect him to if he cut it in the
nah,
first
he was just a
place.
little freaking goober of a kid. But yeah, so but yeah, man, I just reacted. Bam. Didn't even stop to think about it. Didn't realize the repercussions of my actions. Nothing. It was just
And he was armed.
yeah, I know. I know. You're right. You're
Yeah,
right. That didn't even cross my mind. It was just, hey
there
man,
you go.
Legends number 3 means something to me. Come on now. But yeah.
True that.
So we'll see how the rest of Absolute Powers goes. Maybe I'll read Legends this week. So our next live stream,
Hmm.
I'll see if it, which is almost like a daunting thing because you're like, well, I haven't read it in like 15, 20 years. Imagine if it does kind of suck now. You know, all this time I'm holding it on perching it on a pedestal. You
True.
know, I just don't. I don't. Should I ruin it? What should I do? What should someone tell me? What should I do here?
Someone let us
Leave it
know.
alone. Go back into it. Kind of see if I can rekindle the love of my youth. Come on now. But
It's
anyway, Chris,
true.
you got anything else you want to add to today's program before we sign off and get the hell out of here?
No, no, I think we're good.
All right, groovy. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk comics with me. The audience,
Back at you.
even more so than you, for
For
sticking with
sure.
us.
For
Especially,
sure.
I can't get over that technical difficulty we had. I
Weird.
thought you were faking,
No, no, I wish I were.
and I wish I responded better because the whole time that was happening, I'm just like, you're lying to me. This is garbage.
I'd never lie
I
about something this important.
trashed your character like a cover to Legends number 3.
That's okay. That's okay. I had it
I
coming.
dragged you through the mud. It's just terrible, terrible
Hmm.
stuff. So, my bad.
I deserved it.
Did you though? Did you? And here's the
Probably.
other thing: is I'm gonna have to go back and review this live stream to see how bad it really was, and probably be embarrassed.
No, it'll probably just be me acting like a fool, like can't
Yeah,
see you, and like you're talking normal.
maybe.
I'm sure
I
that's what
really
it'll
hope
be.
that's the case. To be honest with you, I really hope that's the situation because if it was me, I'm not gonna be able to live it down. It's gonna hurt my
For
feelings.
sure. For sure.
But again, thanks to everybody. Truly appreciated, and we'll be back as far as I know next week. You're just nodding like
Or to be.
yes, okay, great,
Yes.
and
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
man, that's all I got to say
I am
about
but a
that.
passenger on this
Right
ride.
on. All right, well, that's that, and we'll see you next time. Sound good?
Sound
All right,
good.
man.